Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. You will become stronger when you are exposed to the sun. I will be the best for eternity. Chapter 21. Everyone didn't stop until they had run a few hundred meters and looked back, their hearts beating violently. They gasped for air, thinking they had saved a small life. How could a ferocious beast of this level appear here? Among them, Lao Lu, who was the weakest in cultivation, had a puzzled face. The same goes for other warriors. That was the fiery tiger, and even the weakest one had strength comparable to that of a 6th-level warrior. Even if they were put together, there would be no chance of killing such a terrifying beast. Instead, they might all die there. Who knows? Someone said while gasping, with a trace of regret in his eyes, but it seems that the young boy just now is in trouble. In their opinion, if Chen Fan, a 2nd-level warrior, encounters a ferocious beast of this level, he is destined to be torn apart and become the food of that ferocious beast. We'd better leave quickly. A ferocious beast like the flame tiger has appeared. We can't stay here any longer. Someone suggested that it would be safest to leave now. Because once the flame tiger appears there, it means that this place will be divided into the territory of the flame tiger. Anyone who dares to continue to act wild here will definitely die. Unless a warrior who has reached the 6th level of a warrior or even a higher level comes, no matter how many people come, they will become the food of the blazing tiger. You guys should go first. The boy died because of me just now. I want to see if I can get his body back. Although Lao Lu has red hair, he is actually a kind-hearted person at heart. The main reason was that he deliberately stimulated Chen Fan to go there, but as a result, Chen Fan became the food in the mouth of the vicious beast, and he felt guilty in his heart. Lu Yi, are you crazy? That's the fiery tiger. Even if you run fast, if you get hit once, you will die. It's better to come with us. They were all in the same team, so when they saw that Lao Lu was going to die, they all tried to persuade him, hoping to make him turn around. No need to persuade me, I will just look at it from a distance. If there is really no chance, I will escape as soon as possible. Lao Lu was very stubborn and still wanted to give it a try. There's really nothing I can do about you. Among them, an ordinary-looking middle-aged man with a lot of bloodstains on his body stood out from the crowd. If you want to go, I'll go with you. The others will wait there. If we don't come back in 5 minutes, you can leave first. Hearing this, the other warriors in blue nodded their heads, obviously following the instructions of this middle-aged man. Boss, old Lu was a little moved. The middle-aged man in front of him was the strongest person in their team. He had reached the 5th level of a warrior and was also their captain. But the people in their team usually respectfully call their captain the boss. Okay, goodbye mother-in-law. Mother-in-law, I'm late, I'm afraid I won't even be able to see the body. Good. The two quickly left the place and continued to return to the original road. At the same time, Chen Fan looked at the huge tiger in front of him. The hair on this tiger's body was blood red, a bit like burning flames. Level 2 ferocious beast fiery tiger. Chen Fan didn't have any thoughts of escaping. He was very excited. He moved his muscles and made a crackling sound. You are much more valuable than ghost-faced tiger. Chen Fan's eyes were full of excitement. He was going to make a lot of money again. In fact, Chen Fan didn't know how powerful he really was, but killing a flaming tiger shouldn't be a big problem. If he really can't beat him, he can leave calmly. This is his confidence in his own strength. Roar! The flaming tiger let out a roar, which actually formed a sound wave and spread towards Chen Fan. At this moment, Chen Fan felt like his eardrums were about to be torn. The moment he covered his ears, the flame tiger's body had disappeared and rushed towards him quickly. This flaming tiger even spit out a black light from its mouth. Chen Fan was as light as a swallow and quickly left the place, dodging the opponent's attack, and then his eyes became sharp. Court death. In Chen Fan's palm, the power of qi and blood rolled, and the palm turned red, like a red iron. Chen Fan took the initiative and rushed towards the flame tiger, jumped on top of his head, and slapped his palm downwards fiercely. With this palm, Chen Fan used his true strength and exploded with unparalleled power. Crack! He slapped the body of the fiery tiger with this palm. The bones on the forehead of this ferocious beast cracked, and countless cracks appeared. Then large amounts of red blood flowed down. Roar! Before dying, the flame tiger roared again and struggled violently. The whole forest was shaking. There were even countless cracks on the ground, densely packed like spider webs. But soon, a large amount of green smoke burst out from above his head, and more blood flowed down. This ferocious beast with terrifying strength closed its eyes unwillingly. He couldn't understand until his death that he was just casually hunting, but he was easily killed by a human who didn't look very powerful. Chen Fan stood on top of the fiery tiger and looked at the place where he had just left, a half-meter deep pit. As a level 2 ferocious beast, in addition to its own pure strength, it also has other means. If you are not careful, it is really possible to get caught. I remember that the flame tiger seemed to be worth almost 1 million. Now I'm making a lot of money. A smile appeared on Chen Fan's face. As expected, he was poor in literature but rich in military skills. It is really easy for a powerful warrior to make money. In his memory, his parents' salary combined was only around 15,000 a month. Even if you don't eat or drink, it will take several years to save up to 1 million. And he could get so much money by simply killing a ferocious beast. Not far away, Lao Lu and the middle-aged man witnessed all this with their own eyes. Both of them were so frightened that they even felt that they had seen it wrong. Boss. How is this possible? Lao Lu's words were somewhat intermittent, and his heart was filled with disbelief. He even felt that everything he saw in front of him was an illusion. A second-level warrior killed a flaming tiger in an instant. How powerful was this? If you want to kill the flame tiger instantly, you must have at least 40,000 combat power. This person is probably a top elite talent, a true genius. The middle-aged man called the boss had a solemn face, and he was a little frightened. It was so powerful that a seemingly young boy turned out to be a peerless genius and a truly invincible strong man. In his opinion, Chen Fan's true cultivation level may have reached the 7th level of a warrior, but it was just hidden so that people like them couldn't see it. Of course, this invincibility is also for them. No wonder he dares to go deep into this place alone. This is because he is full of confidence in his own strength. Top elite talent. Lao Lu's eyes were full of envy. He had just an ordinary talent, but he broke through and became a warrior with difficulty. He didn't even have the qualifications to get in touch with top elite talents. Chen Fan didn't know what the two of them were thinking. He waved his hands towards them and said, "Would any of you know how to dismember a flaming tiger?" The two men were stunned for a moment, then looked at each other. "We're not very good at it, but there's someone in our team who specializes in doing this. I'm going to find him now." The middle-aged man quickly left and asked his companion to come with him. Since they had not gone far, the middle-aged man soon returned with a large number of his companions. Night. Beside the warm campfire, the firelight illuminated everyone's faces. There is a large pot here with fragrant tiger meat stewed in it. Everyone felt like they were in a dream. They didn't expect that they could eat the meat of the blazing tiger. This was something they had never dared to imagine before. Next to the cauldron, there was a handsome young man sitting there with his eyes slightly closed. He was breathing evenly, and the aura on his body was actually rising steadily at this moment. Boom! There was a sudden vibration, and smoke and dust billowed from the place. The handsome young man opened his eyes, and he actually broke through in front of everyone. In everyone's perception, although Chen Fan was only a 3rd-level warrior, they all thought it was a disguise. Otherwise, how could a normal 3rd-level warrior be so terrifying? As for the martial arts that Chen Fan displayed, these warriors had actually learned them. Among the E-level martial arts, Bangzong is almost always available to martial artists, so it is not considered a profound martial arts. But the power that this martial art unleashed in Chen Fan's hands was truly terrifying. Another breakthrough. Such a powerful aura is really enviable. The middle-aged man known as the boss looked solemnly in the direction of Chen Fan, his eyes filled with wonder. He didn't expect to meet such a peerless genius here. And seeing that Chen Fan is so young, he probably hasn't taken the warrior assessment yet. If he takes part in the assessment this time, it may shock the 36 cities. Thank you. Chen Fan saw the tiger skin on the ground, the demon pill, and the fragrant tiger meat that had been sprayed long ago. After all, the other party had done him a big favor, otherwise it would have taken a long time for him to dissect the flaming tiger by himself. You're welcome. These blue-clothed warriors even respected Chen Fan. In this era, the stronger the warrior, the more respected he is. He will go to the front line to defend against powerful beasts, and he deserves to be praised by everyone. Although Chen Fan looks younger than them, they all admire Chen Fan from the bottom of their hearts. With such strength at such a young age, he might become a great master in the future, and maybe he would be able to see Chen Fan on TV again. Chen Fan looked at everyone a little reserved and felt that the atmosphere was a little subtle. You don't have to be so polite, just sit down and eat tiger meat. Chen Fan was the first to start eating meat, and then everyone started to move. Although the night was a bit cold, everyone felt warm after eating tiger meat and their physical condition improved somewhat. But it didn't have much effect on Chen Fan. Apart from satisfying his hunger, there was no obvious improvement. The night passed quickly, and Chen Fan took the demon pill and tiger skin with him, preparing to continue hunting the ferocious beasts. However, Chen Fan thought for a moment, stopped, and asked the middle-aged man next to him, "Do you know the current price of D-level martial arts?" Although there are records in the book, these warriors in front of them have been on the front line. If there are any changes, they should be the first to know. D-level martial arts. As far as I know, the cheapest one costs about 1.5 million, and the more expensive one costs 3 million. The middle-aged man said truthfully. Chen Fan nodded. This was similar to what was recorded in the book. Goodbye. Chen Fan waved to him and continued to go deeper. And this group of blue-clothed warriors left this place. Half a day later, Star City. A piece of dazzling information went directly to the top of the hot search list. A talent comparable to the top 10 geniuses. Kill the flame tiger with one blow. There is a picture. Close black lens bracket. All the people holding mobile phones couldn't help but click on it and saw the back of a young man. At his feet, a huge flaming tiger was no longer breathing. It's just that the back view looks a bit blurry and seems to have been processed, making it difficult to see clearly. Is this real or fake? It's not a picture, right? Looking at the description below, it says that this boy may have just reached adulthood. Isn't this too fierce? Can you kill the second-level ferocious beast flame tiger at such a young age? It seems that this year's warrior assessment has a dark horse. I don't know what the top 10 geniuses think now. Everyone quickly posted messages below, and the number of messages reached thousands in an instant, and they continued to increase, just like building buildings. At the same time, Wong family. Wong Long, a blonde-haired man, held a glass of red wine in his hand, shaking it gently. He was holding his mobile phone in his other hand, and happened to see this hot search, so he opened it to take a look. Kill the flame tiger. What's the big deal? Wong Long snorted, not caring, and calmly closed the hot search. He can do this now, but he doesn't want to publicize it overwhelmingly. In his opinion, the owner of this figure deliberately paid for the hot search. This picture is so vague, and there is no process of killing the flame tiger. Who knows whether it is true or false? He must be just trying to make a name for himself. Such a sensationalist will be a big joke when it comes to the real warrior assessment. The other side. The top 10 geniuses also saw this news. They all dismissed it and did not regard the figure in the video as an opponent at all. Each of the top 10 geniuses is extremely confident in themselves and thinks they have the hope of winning the championship. Even Feng Chengtian has the highest talent. But other geniuses are not weak in talent. As long as they have enough training resources, their early training speed may not be slower than Feng Xiaoshan. Moreover, this time the warrior competition, it is said that there will be more generous rewards than in previous years. Therefore, the top 10 geniuses are practicing hard, preparing to shine in the warrior assessment, and then join the top 10 palaces after receiving rewards. 2 days later, the original hot search had already dropped, allowing new hot searches to take over. Everyone's talk about the dark horse gradually became less and less. At this time, a young man appeared at Bida Trading Company. Although this boy looks young, he carries a strong evil aura. This kind of evil spirit made ordinary people afraid to approach, and they looked at the young man with fear and shock in their eyes. The young man said nothing, carrying a big baggage behind him, and he didn't know what was in it. The young man came to the front desk of a trading company. Sitting here was a young and beautiful woman who looked about 20 years old. She was wearing black stockings, high heels and a black dress. "Welcome to Bida Trading Company. How can I help you?" The woman had a polite smile on her face, but her legs were shaking slightly, because she felt the evil aura in the young man in front of her. The man in front of him didn't look like a boy at all, but more like a ferocious beast. She was even a little timid in her heart, but the business firm stipulated that all guests must be received politely. "I'm here to sell things, can you take charge?" the handsome young man asked. The beautiful receptionist forced a smile on her face and said, "I should be able to make the decision for things worth less than 1 million. Then you'd better call your manager." The handsome young man found a seat and sat down, waiting there. "Good." The beautiful receptionist left quickly, apparently to call the manager. "Why do I feel like everyone around me is a little afraid of me?" The young man was Chen Fan. He entered the depths and killed several more ferocious beasts, and they were all ferocious beasts with powerful cultivation levels, and their value had already exceeded 3 million. This time, Chen Fan wanted to exchange for a powerful D-level martial arts in the trading house. Bida Trading Company is very famous among the entire human race. They not only sell things, but also collect things, and they have many chain stores. There is basically a Bida Trading Company in every city, and the background of the real owner behind it is unfathomable. Some people speculate that Bida Trading Company may have the support of a distinguished person, so it can flourish everywhere. For so many years, no one has dared to take the idea of Bida Trading Company. Chen Fan stayed there for about 3 minutes, when a man who looked to be in his 30s hurried out. "My little friend seems to be very powerful at first sight. I wonder if you have something you want to sell to our firm." The man was wearing a black suit. At first glance, he looked a bit like an insurance salesman, with a gentle smile on his face. He is of slim build and has short black hair. When Chen Fan saw that the person who could make the decision had arrived, he opened the contents of the bag directly. Hiss. Lying quietly inside were a few demon pills, as well as some ferocious beast horns, tiger skins, etc. "Let me estimate it." The manager's expression became a little solemn, and then he began to make serious estimates. Because he is also a warrior with strong cultivation and an appraiser. Fire tiger pill, worth 1 million. The tiger skin is worth 100,000. Level 2 ferocious beast, violent rhinoceros, demon elixir worth 1.2 million. Quote. The manager counted the contents of the bag and finally gave Chen Fan a satisfactory transaction price. "These things are worth a total of 6 million. I wonder if you have any objections." The manager's tone towards Chen Fan became more polite. "These ferocious beasts are extremely difficult to kill and are very ferocious. Countless warriors have died in their mouths." Unexpectedly, he would eventually die in the hands of the young man in front of him. This also shocked the manager, knowing that this boy was probably the one who had been at the top of the hot search list some time ago. So he became more and more polite to Chen Fan, even with respect in his tone. "I'm very satisfied, but don't rush to pay for it yet. I want to buy a powerful D-level martial arts. Do you have any recommendations?" After all, money is only an external possession, and what Chen Fan values most is martial arts. D-level martial arts. Our Bida Trading Company has probably thousands of them for you to choose from. The manager became more and more enthusiastic and personally took Chen Fan to choose martial arts. An hour later, Chen Fan left with satisfaction. There was an extra balance of 500,000 on his bank card. That's right, Chen Fan spent all the remaining 5.5 million. Among them, 5 million was used to buy D-level martial arts, and the remaining 500,000 was used to buy a pill called Ningxin pill, which can make one's heart calm and dispel one's evil spirits. Chen Fan saw everyone's performance and knew that he might have killed too many ferocious beasts and had an evil aura on his body, which was why ordinary people were afraid. Based on the manager's strong recommendation, he bought a pill to take. He had to go home during this period. If his family felt that he was full of evil spirits, it would be hard to explain. "Maybe my parents will take turns asking questions, and I won't know how to explain it then." After Chen Fan left the trading company, he did not go back to school or home immediately, but went out of the city again. D-level martial arts, let me see the difference between this kind of martial arts. After Chen Fan arrived outside the city, he began to practice and obtained the martial arts 9 Slashes of Flame. There are 9 moves in total in this martial arts. When used, the power will continue to increase. When the 9th move is reached, when the martial arts is superimposed to its strongest level, the power will reach its peak. This is also the best among D-level martial arts. However, it is indeed a bit more difficult to practice than other martial arts. Chen Fan also spent half a day to finally learn all this martial arts and practice it to perfection. Drink. The power of qi and blood exploded from Chen Fan's body, and golden flames surged on his palm, directly condensing into a golden long knife, about 1 meter long, exuding a dangerous aura. When this move broke out, a 5-meter long crack appeared on the ground. The entire ground seemed to be unable to bear it, and it made a violent shaking sound, as if an earthquake was coming. What a terrifying increase! Chen Fan's current combat power is about 60,000, but when he burst out with the first move, his combat power has increased by 10,000, reaching 70,000. You must know that the power will gradually increase each time. Even if it does not double, the final increase in combat power will reach 90,000. Coupled with his original combat power of 60,000, the maximum combat power can reach 150,000. With such strength, he could probably arm wrestle with a martial artist. However, Chen Fan also knew his own shortcomings. The power of his energy and blood was still too weak. If he really had to unleash the final move, he would probably be exhausted. Therefore, the top priority now is to improve one's own cultivation and better utilize the power of this martial arts. And the best way to improve your cultivation level, besides fighting, is definitely to bask in the sun. Chen Fan didn't want to kill the ferocious beast at this time, but was preparing to dispel the evil spirit from his body. He did what he thought of, and Chen Fan swallowed the elixir to calm down his mood, gradually dissipate the evil spirit from his body, and make everything smooth. As for why Chen Fan came outside the city, it was because he found that the sunshine here was warmer than the sunshine in the city, and the rate of energy growth was also much faster. Chen Fan found a place with the most sunshine. After a day in the sun, he finally saved enough energy. Then, the breath broke through again smoothly, reaching the 4th level of the warrior, and once again increased the combat power by 5,000, which is 10,000 kilograms of strength. It's just that this place is outside the city after all. Although Chen Fan doesn't want to kill anymore, there are still a few ferocious beasts that don't know whether to live or die, and they take the initiative to approach this place. Chen Fan used the simplest martial arts to kill them easily, without even bothering to look at the corpses. Because this is only the 1st level area, the value of the ferocious beasts here is very low, so there is no need to pick up the corpses. After evening, Chen Fan returned to the city and had a good meal, preparing to go home tomorrow. Then bring some dry food and go outside the city to stay for a while to absorb more energy. Mom and Dad, I'm back. Today is Sunday, and Chen Fan knows that his parents are definitely at home. Xiao Fan is back. Why don't you tell us in advance so we can prepare meals in advance? Father Chen and Mother Chen were very happy. After chatting with their son for a few words, they immediately went out to buy food. They knew that their son was used to the taste at home, and when he went to a restaurant to eat, it didn't taste like home at all. Chen Fan sat on the sofa and watched TV. After watching it for a while, he went to the balcony to bask in the sun, feeling the increasing energy in his body. Chen Fan felt the power of the rich qi and blood in his body, and actually had an unreal feeling in his heart. Because this power is so powerful. Compared with myself in the previous life, I don't know how many times stronger it is. He looked at the skin on his hands, which was getting tighter and tighter, smooth and flawless, and more transparent than white jade. Brother, you're back. My sister Chen Shui saw Chen Fan and said hello. Chen Fan nodded slightly and looked at his sister's outfit. She was wearing a long skirt, a pink butterfly hairpin on her head, and canvas shoes on her feet. She looked youthful and beautiful. After basking in the sun for a while, Father Chen and Mother Chen came back, carrying 2 large and small bags in their hands and buying a lot of rich food. After another 2 hours or so, there were 10 more dishes on the table, exuding a fragrant smell. Eat more beef. Chen's mother smiled as she served rice and vegetables. She knew that Chen Fan loved beef the most, so he bought a lot today. Chen Fan ate a piece of beef, but he didn't feel anything. He only felt that it tasted good. For warriors with strong qi and blood, they have to eat a lot of ordinary food to replenish their body's needs. So today Chen Fan had a huge appetite and ate 8 bowls of rice, which shocked his sister Chen Shui. "Brother, how many days have you not eaten?" Chen Shui was very surprised. She only ate 1 bowl and she was already full, but Chen Fan ate 8 times as much as she did. This was really outrageous. "Xiaofan, are you short of money?" Mother Chen asked with concern. Chen Fan thought that the balance on his bank card was actually hundreds of thousands, and he shook his head. "I'm not short of money, I just have a lot to eat, and I also got a scholarship from school, so you don't have to give me money. Anyway, as long as he hunts ferocious beasts, he can easily get millions." Chen Fan doesn't attach much importance to money at all. What's more, it's much harder for his parents to make money than it is for him, so let them keep the money. Chen's mother was full of worries, thinking that Chen Fan didn't want to tell them. Father Chen was a big-hearted person and kept eating without saying anything. He looked like a qualified cook. "I only know how to eat, but I don't know how to care about my son." Mother Chen glared at Father Chen. Father Chen then raised his head, looked at Chen Fan and said, "If Xiaofan needs money, just tell me." "How come you are rich? Could it be that you have hidden your private money?" Mother Chen frowned upon hearing this. Chen's father knew that he had said the wrong thing and said quickly, "No, I'm just about to pay my salary. Then I can give the money to Xiaofan first and hand over the rest." "Dad, it's not fair, I want money too." Chen Shui also wanted more pocket money. Chen Fan looked at all this with a smile on his face, feeling that the family atmosphere was very good. After eating, Chen Fan prepared to rest at home for one night before leaving. However, when he left, he also informed his parents that after leaving this time, he might not be able to go home until he passed the warrior assessment. The night passed quickly. Returning to the next day, I left home again and came to the outside of the city. The sun outside is very hot, with the temperature reaching over 50 degrees. If you are an ordinary person, you will probably faint from the heat under such high temperature. But for Chen Fan, this is a kind of enjoyment. The speed of increasing energy keeps getting faster. In this way, Chen Fan would return to the city when he was hungry. When he was not hungry, he would bask in the sun outside the city and kill some evil beasts without eyes. Before I knew it, more than 20 days had passed. Chen Fan, who was basking in the sun outside, now smelled more and more terrifying. From a distance, it looks like a continuously burning furnace, emitting astonishingly high temperatures. Breakthrough, Chen Fan thought silently in his heart. At this moment, a large amount of pure power poured into his limbs and bones, washing over his body over and over again, while also rapidly increasing the power of his blood. During this period of time, Chen Fan had already reached the 10th level of martial arts, and fully possessed a combat power of 100,000, which is equivalent to 200,000 kilograms of strength. Now that Chen Fan is breaking through as a martial artist, he can feel that once he breaks through the combat power, he will probably increase significantly. This process continued for about half a day. When Chen Fan's qi and blood power reached a peak, it finally stopped. This is the realm of a martial artist. Chen Fan opened his eyes, shook his hands, and felt stronger than ever before. After the breakthrough, Chen Fan directly increased his combat power by 100,000, reaching an astonishing 200,000 combat power. His own strength has also reached 400,000 kilograms. Chen Fan exhaled a breath of turbid air and found that there were a lot of black and gray impurities on his body, which was a bit smelly. Breaking through the martial arts master is equivalent to washing the muscles and cutting off the marrow, and the power is so powerful that it is incredible. 9 styles of fierce flames. The first one. Chen Fan mobilized the power in his body and condensed a long knife condensed with flames, which directly reached about 3 meters, exuding an astonishing sense of threat. The power of the first style directly increased by 50,000 combat power, reaching an astonishing 250,000. If added later, the power of the last move would reach an astonishing 450,000. This kind of fighting power is probably not weak even among martial arts masters. At first, Chen Fan thought that his head teacher Zhang Zhengguo was very powerful, but after he broke through and became a martial artist, he felt that Zhang Zhengguo was actually not as scary as he imagined. At least his energy and blood power are already close to Zhang Zhengguo. Ding! The phone in Chen Fan's arm suddenly vibrated. He took out his phone and turned on the screen to see today's headlines. The 36 City Warrior assessment begins, attracting everyone's attention. Close black lens bracket. When Chen Fan saw the title, he didn't click on it at all, but prepared to go to the place where the warriors would be assessed. This time the warrior assessment will be held in Star City, so he only needs to return to the city now. At the same time, a large number of people have gathered in a huge oval square in Star City, and it looks like a huge crowd. The square is divided into many areas, all covered with soft carpets. There are also many machines on the square. These machines are used to test combat power. Many people in the square were whispering, The other side, people from all the major cities started to set off and gathered here. The most eye-catching one is Feng Changtian of the Feng family. He is the most talented person among the top 10 geniuses, so he attracts everyone's attention. Other geniuses also attracted a lot of attention. Many reporters were already waiting outside their doors, filming them with cameras and constantly asking them what they thought. This can be said to be a move from all sides. The attention paid to this warrior assessment has reached an unprecedented level. The golden light tore through the clouds and fell on the city. On the horizon, a young figure slowly appeared. This person was filled with youthful vitality. He was a very young-looking boy. The young man is wearing relatively loose casual clothes, which are a combination of black and white. Although his eyes are clear, if you look closely, you will find that occasionally there will be a sharp gaze, giving people an inexplicable sense of shock. Just like ordinary people encountering ferocious beasts, it makes people feel terrified. Chen Fan ignored the guards and returned directly to the city. The two guards guarding the door looked at Chen Fan's back and started talking quietly. This must be a certain genius. It must be. I've seen him go out of the city dozens of times and come back from outside the city every day. I'm afraid he is a ruthless person who has gained experience in killing ferocious beasts. They had never seen people who went out to kill ferocious beasts, but they had only seen someone as diligent and young as Chen Fan. Others have to worry about life and death crises when killing ferocious beasts, but when Chen Fan kills ferocious beasts, it seems like he is just eating and drinking water. This kind of person is too scary. He can even be said to be a madman and a hero to some extent. The first thing Chen Fan did when he returned to the city was not to go to the assessment site, but to go home first. This is a major event in life, and his parents and sister will also go to watch it, so Chen Fan plans to go with his family. Arriving downstairs in the community, Chen Fan saw his parents and sister who had already prepared. The father was wearing a suit, the mother was wearing a red dress, and the sister was wearing a pink dress, black round leather shoes, and a pair of white socks. It looks like a beautiful scenery from a distance. Mom and Dad. Chen Fan smiled and walked over to say hello. Then he glanced at his sister Chen Shui and said, "You are dressed very beautifully today." A trace of doubt flashed in Chen Shui's eyes. She had almost never heard her brother Chen Fan say anything nice to her. Did he change his gender today? Brother, you have to work hard too. After coming back to her senses, the younger sister held her pink fist and made a show of trying hard. Chen Fan smiled and nodded, and said, "Actually, it should be others who have to work hard. The first place in the warrior assessment this time should be me." My younger sister, Chen Shui, was immediately speechless and fell silent on the spot, feeling that my brother was a little distracted. "You really dare to think about it?" My sister cursed in her heart. However, there are no words to dampen Chen Fan's confidence. Having ambition is a good thing, but if it is too outrageous, it will make people feel ridiculous. As expected of my son, he is ambitious. Father Chen laughed and was very happy. Chen's mother smiled gently at the side, thinking that Chen Fan had become much more cheerful during the time he spent at school. "You dare to think about being number one?" A young-looking boy sneered, exuding powerful energy and blood. This young man is Lu Ling. He has been practicing hard during this period and finally broke through and became a warrior. However, the news he received was that among the top 10 geniuses this time, the ones with the lowest cultivation levels had probably reached the late stage of martial arts, and many of them had even become martial masters. He immediately knew the gap between himself and those top geniuses. "Old Chen, your son's tone is quite arrogant, but people have to recognize the gap between reality and ideals. Neighbor Lao Lu shook his head and thought it was very funny. Even Lao Lu's wife felt that her neighbor's son was really crazy. Father Chen and Mother Chen showed a hint of displeasure. Originally, Lao Lu was their good neighbor, but after giving birth to a son with great talent, his appearance seemed to have changed. Gradually, I felt that they were superior to others, and the tone of their speech changed from showing off to a feeling of condescension. The other neighbors generally echoed what Lao Lu and his family said. After all, everyone knew that his Lu Ling was a genius and had a high probability of passing the warrior test. At that time, I will no longer live in their community. Forget it, let me tell you something. Lu Ling shook his head. He hadn't gone to school during this period. As for the martial arts school, someone had been sent to his home. He even had no contact with his girlfriend during this period and had been practicing hard. And now he actually looks down on his girlfriend in his heart. This time he will definitely pass the warrior test, and then he and his girlfriend will be people in two different worlds. Warriors generally live longer than ordinary people. He doesn't want to wait until he is still young and his wife is already gray-haired. At this moment, he finally understood why most people would change their partners after becoming powerful warriors. Chen Fan didn't bother to explain to them and didn't take their words to heart. He only said these words to his parents. As for what other people think, what does it have to do with him? Isn't it tiring if a person cares too much? Mom and Dad, let's go. Chen Fan said. As soon as he finished saying this, a car honked not far away, and a bus stopped outside the community gate. The students and parents who are going to take the warrior assessment are all on board. Someone on the bus shouted with a loudspeaker that they were specially sent to pick them up. Today is such a grand event that even people from major companies hardly have to go to work. Everyone quickly lined up and got on the bus in an orderly manner. The driver stepped on the accelerator and controlled the bus to move forward. On the bus, many students were talking and unsure. I hope you can bless me to succeed in the exam. Most students clasped their hands and prayed in their hearts, but this was just to comfort themselves. In the martial arts assessment, one must reach the realm of a warrior, or achieve corresponding combat power. Most of them have not reached this level. At this moment, the bus suddenly stopped, the door opened, and soon new people got on the bus. Chen Fan. After one of them saw Chen Fan, a smile appeared on his face and he sat directly next to Chen Fan. Zhao Hang. Chen Fan also had a smile on his face. Where have you been during this time? I wanted to ask you to play black. Zhao Heng began to mutter as soon as he sat down. Chen Fan asked, why are you so cheerful and not worried about this warrior assessment? This time the martial arts assessment is about the current situation that determines a person's fate. If he fails, he can only go to the battlefield to kill ferocious beasts, and the probability of survival is very small. Even if they survive, I am afraid that many people are unwilling to come down from the battlefield, because ordinary talented people want to become stronger, and they can only obtain more training resources by killing ferocious beasts. It's like having seen a truly powerful person, you won't be willing to be an ordinary person. I could have gotten used to the darkness, if I had never seen the light. That's probably what it means. What's the use of worrying? Just get through it if you can, and don't let it down. Zhao Heng was very open-minded. In this warrior assessment, the number of people who can become warriors is probably very small. 500 people out of 10,000 people is considered good. After all, there are only a small group of talented people, and if they don't practice hard, they may not be able to break through the ranks of warriors. It is almost impossible for someone with ordinary talent like him to pass. Instead of worrying about such boring things, it is better to enjoy it more. Although after becoming a martial artist, you can be absorbed into a martial arts gym, or even join various forces. If you want to be free, you can also open a small martial arts gym by yourself, but this is too difficult. Sometimes people have to accept their fate. When Zhao Heng said these words, he sighed heavily, with yearning in his eyes, but more of a loss. Although some things can be controlled not to be thought about, once they are mentioned, I still feel unwilling to do so. Chen Fan naturally understood the changes in his friend's eyes. If he didn't have an awakening system, he might just feel the same endless despair as his friends, and he could only accept his fate unwillingly. You're right, Chen Fan nodded in agreement. Okay, let's not talk about these unhappy things. We should go to the battlefield together. When the time comes, the two of us will kill the ferocious beasts together. We may not be able to achieve something in the future. Zhao Heng patted Chen Fan on the shoulder and said optimistically. Chen Fan was about to explain at this moment that he shouldn't have to go to the battlefield for the time being. But at this moment, a young man with an unruly face came over and sat in the back row of Chen Fan and the others. Isn't this Chen Fan? Suddenly, this unruly young man saw Chen Fan's appearance clearly and stood up with a strange look. I heard that you taught Lu Hai a lesson last time. That loser is not worthy of being my brother's follower and has been kicked away. But you offended my brother. I will teach you a lesson during this warrior assessment. The unruly young man is called Wang Kai. He has short black hair, black clothes, and a pair of sunglasses. He looks arrogant. He's a fool, but he talks arrogantly, but trash will always be trash. Facing the other party's provocation, Chen Fan responded with a cold tone. He also knows Wang Kai. He is a cousin of Wang Long. He has some relatives with him and is also an excellent talent. Wang Kai was so angry that he almost wanted to hit Chen Fan, but he finally endured it. Today is an important day for the warrior assessment. If he wants to cause trouble today, he may not be able to participate in the warrior assessment today. Chen Fan, your tone is still so arrogant. A dull voice sounded, and everyone's eyes focused on this person. A young man in a black suit walked over slowly. He has long, silky golden hair, a pair of sharp eyes, and a precious watch on his hand. It looks like his family is very wealthy. Generally, people like this are transported by special cars when traveling. But today is the warrior examination, and everyone must take the bus there, otherwise ordinary people will not be able to enter the examination room. Wang Long is here. He is an elite level talent. He has extremely terrifying energy and blood power, so he attracts everyone's attention. What a powerful strength. Some young people's pupils were constricted, even Lu Ling's eyes were full of shock. They could all feel that the power of qi and blood in Wang Long was much stronger than them. It's a pity that although you are arrogant, you don't have the corresponding strength. After Wang Long said this, he found a seat at the back and sat down. He is more arrogant than his cousin. Except for saying a word to Chen Fan, he simply ignored the other people around him and acted as if he should stay away from strangers. Cousin, Wang Kai, who looked arrogant just now, saw Wang Long coming and immediately approached him with a smile on his face. Zhao Heng looked at Wang Kai's arrogant appearance and rolled his eyes. Soon, more people got on the bus one after another, and several of them joined Wang Long after seeing him. They are all followers of Wang Long, and almost all have excellent talents. Young Master Wang, the one who did it before is Chen Fan. I heard that he offended you before. Do you want to teach him a lesson? Someone volunteered to give Chen Fan a beating. This person has long black hair and looks like a boy or a girl. Those who didn't know thought he was a woman. He looks very delicate. His name is Chuchuan, he is also an excellent level talent, and he is sure to pass this warrior assessment. But he looked humble in front of Wang Long. Because he knew that he could only pass the martial arts assessment, but Wang Long would definitely shine this time and would still be a big shot to him in the future. You can teach me a lesson after the warrior assessment. Don't talk to me about such trivial matters. My goal is to be one of the top 10 geniuses. An ordinary person is not worthy of me, let alone a waste. Wang Long said the most domineering words in the calmest tone, looking arrogant and completely unconcerned about what others thought. Okay, Hatsukawa nodded and answered respectfully. Chen Fan, who was not far away, smiled and said nothing when he heard this sentence. This group of people wanted to teach him a lesson, and they dared to say it in front of him, which was really arrogant. But if we meet them later, the identities of hunter and prey will probably change. Chen Fan didn't have any trouble in his heart. Although Wang Long and the others were very arrogant, Chen Fan didn't regard them as opponents at all. This time, his target is also the top 10 geniuses, and he is still ranked first. The one who deserves the most attention should be Feng Changtian. As for the other geniuses, Chen Fan is very confident that he can defeat them. The bus quickly drove to the entrance of the examination room and successfully entered the examination room. I saw several flags in the distance, all with the name of the school written on them. Chen Fan and the others walked towards the flag of Star City No. 1 Middle School, where a large number of students had already arrived in advance. Chen Fan and others joined the crowd. Except for Mr. Wang, who was more conspicuous, and the teacher, who was more enthusiastic, the others did not receive much attention. Chen Fan's parents and sister are on another level of the auditorium. They do not need to participate in the warrior assessment, so they stay in a different place from Chen Fan. Lu Sheng is here, suddenly someone exclaimed, and everyone's eyes instantly focused on a young man. This is also a young man, but this young man has a cool feeling about him. He has a well-proportioned figure, wearing white long sleeves on his upper body, light-colored jeans on his lower body, and a pair of canvas shoes on his feet. Without saying a word, he attracted everyone's attention. He is the most dazzling genius in the entire Star City and one of the top 10 geniuses. Ying Baichi. After Lu Sheng left, there was another exclamation. This person received even more attention because he was ranked 5th among the top 10 geniuses. He is also a tall young man, his skin is bronze, and his body exudes the power of blood, making people feel like a ferocious beast. Bai Chuyu. There was another burst of exclamation, and a woman with blue hair appeared. This woman was incredibly beautiful, with skin as white as snow. She looked like a fairy descending from the earth. Her appearance is extraordinary, and it is said that she has countless suitors in school and is even the goddess of dreams for countless people. At this moment, this woman appeared wearing a blue school uniform and attracted everyone's attention. She is ranked 3rd among the top 10 geniuses. It is said that she has awakened extraordinary talents and is destined to become a powerful female warrior in the future. A beautiful female warrior can attract the attention of others even more, because the number of powerful female warriors is relatively rare. Feng Changtian is here. There was another exclamation, and a young man who looked a little lazy appeared. He was wearing a red and white school uniform. His face was expressionless, and his eyes seemed to be boring. As soon as this person appears, everyone seems to become a foil. This is a top-notch extraordinary talent, which is said to be rare in 100 years, and is destined to become a powerful warrior. It is even destined to join one of the 10 university palaces in everyone's perception. That's Feng Changtian. From a distance, he looks really extraordinary. Zhao Heng sighed with emotion, his eyes full of envy. It is said that in this 36-level assessment, the top 5 will be able to join the training camp and receive C-level martial arts rewards. They will undergo key training and have martial arts and various resources that are unmatched in the school. In the future, there is hope to join the 10 University Palace, which is the holy land of the human race. Others are quite controversial, but no one can match Feng Changtian. Quote, nowadays, Feng Changtian is being promoted all over the internet, and everyone knows that he is the first to win this championship. C-level martial arts. Chen Fan was a little moved. Although his current martial arts was already very good, if there was a more powerful martial arts, Chen Fan would naturally want to practice it. And what he values more is better cultivation resources. Chen Fan waited in the area for about half an hour when a teacher came over and said, "You all line up and follow me, prepare for the warrior assessment." After hearing this, the students immediately began to line up obediently and followed the teacher to the outside of a huge square. 9 gates were built here, each gate was overcrowded, and there were dedicated soldiers responsible for maintaining order. Under the leadership of the teacher, everyone began to line up in an orderly manner, entered one by one, then received their number at the front desk, and then waited. Chen Fan and Zhao Heng are naturally together, one is number 1000 and the other is number 1001. Come on stage on the first and test your combat power. There was a voice coming from above, and a young man walked up, but soon walked down disappointed, because his combat power was only 3000, which did not meet the standards of a warrior. The tester inside the gate was a woman with an expressionless face. She didn't even need to announce. The huge LCD screen on the tester directly displayed the results of the first tester on stage. It takes 5000 to pass. It seems that we have no hope in this warrior assessment. Many people showed disappointed expressions and even clenched their fists, filled with unwillingness in their hearts. The warrior test is really too difficult. It's just the first item, and I don't know how many people will be troubled. After all, most people's combat power has not reached 5000. Each of the teenagers took the test with disappointed expressions on their faces, making the atmosphere here a little dull. Passed successfully. At this moment, a sudden announcement was made on the stage. Everyone looked up and saw a young man with unruly eyes. It was Wang Kai that Chen Fan saw not long ago. Wang Kai glanced at Chen Fan provocatively, but Chen Fan ignored him. The other teenagers looked at Wang Kai with envy, wishing they could replace him. The assessment is still proceeding in an orderly manner, and only 5 of the 100 people have successfully reached the combat strength standard. The assessor of the test shook his head and thought that the quality of this assessment was a bit low. But at this moment, Wang Long, wearing a black suit, came on stage. He was not wearing a school uniform and looked a little out of place with the others. But no one cares about these details at the moment. Whether you want to wear school uniform on the day of assessment depends entirely on your mood. Boom! Wang Long bombarded the test machine with an expressionless expression, and blood-red fonts quickly appeared on it. 50,000. Even the test officer was startled when he saw this number and couldn't help but take another look at Wang Long. If your fighting ability is qualified, please step down and wait on the other side. The examiner issued a token to Wang Long. Only with this token can the next level of testing be carried out. Wang Long took the token and quickly walked off the stage. Who is this Wang Long? His fighting power is so abnormal. 5,000 is enough to qualify, but he doubled it 10 times. What a freak. Looking at how relaxed he is, it seems like he hasn't used all his strength yet. Quote. There has been a lot of discussion below, as if a pot has exploded, everyone is discussing this matter. Wang Long instantly became the focus of everyone. Then people continued to come forward for the test, but most of them just barely passed the test. More people did not have such strong combat power at all and were directly dismissed. Where is Liu Sheng? Where is he? Someone looked around and asked. Wang Long has become so perverted, they want to see how terrifying Liu Sheng is. Don't look at it. The top 10 geniuses have a separate assessment place. They don't need to test their combat power in the first level. They will all pass by default. Someone explained. When everyone heard this, they became even more envious. They still have to line up here to take the test, but the top 10 geniuses can pass the test directly, which is equivalent to being admitted. But it's hard for them to say anything, because the top 10 geniuses will definitely pass, and the first test is indeed dispensable for them. Boom! At this moment, there was another loud noise, and everyone's eyes turned to a young man on the stage. This boy was also not wearing a school uniform and had dyed red hair. This is Bai Guiyuan from Star City No. 3 Middle School. Someone below recognized the young man. Others suddenly realized it and thought it was natural, because this person is an elite fire talent, and fire talent can increase vitality and improve combat power. It's really shocking. We are just a foil to the combat power in the first level test. Yes, compared with these geniuses, I feel like a waste among wastes. I can't even pass the first level. Originally, I thought that after reaching 5,000 combat power, I would be considered relatively strong among everyone, but compared with real geniuses, the gap is only between Yingwo and Haoyu. The people below, regardless of whether they have ordinary talents or excellent talents, are lamenting because they feel that there is still a long way to go between themselves and real geniuses. They are not on the same level at all. These geniuses can easily kill them instantly. Come on stage number 980. Another young man took the initiative to come on stage and start testing. After testing so many people, 9 geniuses emerged, all with combat power reaching 50,000, making others envious. The examiner originally thought that the quality of this test was a bit low, but after the emergence of these geniuses, he changed his mind. I didn't expect that there would be such a genius this year, whose combat power is comparable to that of a late-stage warrior. They are much better than the batch from the year before last. There was even some expectation in his eyes, hoping that some more talented and evil geniuses would appear. Although the probability of this is a bit low, what if it happens? Chen Fan, I don't think we should go up for the assessment. Zhao Heng looked desperate. When he tested himself yesterday, he knew that his combat power was about 3,000. If he goes up this time, the result will not change much. Chen Fan did not answer his question. He always had a calm expression on his face. Facing the combat power measurements made by those geniuses, he felt nothing in his heart. In the eyes of others, these people are geniuses, but in Chen Fan's eyes, he only regards these people as ordinary people, equivalent to passers-by. He had already reached 50,000 combat power, and now he had broken through the martial arts master several times, so naturally he felt nothing in his heart. Soon, Zhao Heng also went up to take the test. As he expected, he failed to pass the test and walked down from the stage with a disappointed look on his face. No 1001 comes on stage. The test officer announced from above, and Chen Fan walked up with a calm expression and looked at the machine in front of him. At this moment, the test officer was holding the tablet and swiping it up and down to highlight Chen Fan a few times to confirm that Chen Fan was himself. The evaluation rules are very simple. You can make moves and use martial arts at will, but you only have 3 chances. I will take the average of them. But if you are confident, you can only make 1 move, or if you want to give up, the same is true. Quote. Chen Fan nodded slightly. He didn't feel any nervousness during the assessment of combat strength. Because he is destined to pass. The examiner looked at Chen Fan carefully, then raised his eyebrows casually. In her eyes, apart from his handsome appearance, Chen Fan didn't have any great advantages. His energy and blood power was mediocre among everyone, and he couldn't even sense it. According to the information she just read, Chen Fan was just an ordinary talent, so she didn't even care. In the eyes of the examiner, Chen Fan was destined to fail. After the examination, he would have to go to the front line. If you're ready, you can start testing. The examiner said casually, and said that Chen Fan could take action. Chen Fan nodded slightly, took a deep breath, and adjusted his state. Drink. Chen Fan punched out, and the energy and blood in his body gathered into an explosion at this moment. Bang! A huge sound sounded, the machine remained motionless, and the LCD screen above suddenly lit up and began to increase rapidly. In just a few breaths, it has exceeded tens of thousands, and it is still increasing. The examiner didn't care at first, and his eyes were a little light. In her opinion, Chen Fan was destined not to have any great achievements, but she did not expect that Chen Fan had already passed the first test. Even if he no longer increases his combat power, Chen Fan can still be considered a true warrior. The value is still growing, and it didn't take long to reach the 50,000 mark. It has no intention of stopping and is still sprinting. This made the examiner's expression become slightly serious, and he looked at Chen Fan with surprise in his eyes. Chen Fan's information shows that he has an ordinary fire talent. How could he practice so fast? The assessor's heart gradually evolved from being casual to a kind of shock. Chen Fan was not the examiner, because he did not hold back his strength just now but exploded with his true strength. Although he did not use martial arts, his true combat power was considered good among martial arts masters. Didi. When the test combat power increased to 100,000, it suddenly flickered violently, then started to smoke, and made an explosion in front of everyone. Bang! Then the machine completely broke down. There was silence all around, and all the students were filled with shock. Looking at the young figure on the stage, they couldn't help but widen their eyes, feeling incredible. 50,000 combat power is outrageous enough, and he can be considered a genius, but Chen Fan's combat power actually exceeded 100,000. What kind of monster is this? Zhao Heng was also in the audience. There were countless noisy voices in his mind at this moment, and it felt like a dream. He originally thought that Chen Fan was just like him, just with a strong comprehension ability. After all, some people learned martial arts very quickly. As for the last time Chen Fan said he had a breakthrough and became a warrior, Zhao Heng thought Chen Fan was talking nonsense. But now, the real combat power displayed by Chen Fan has exceeded his imagination. With a combat power of more than 100,000, this is comparable to that of a martial artist, right? Chen Fan, you hide so well. Zhao Heng smiled bitterly, feeling that what he said to Chen Fan earlier was like being a clown. However, Zhao Heng was also sincerely happy for Chen Fan. His good friend could have such terrifying combat power and he would definitely become a big shot in the future. Maybe he can still benefit from it in the future. This is a real dark horse. A genius with a combat power of 50,000 said in surprise. He is an elite level talent and naturally knows the difference between more than 100,000 and 50,000. This gap is too big, more than twice the strength. If he really makes a move, I'm afraid he will be killed instantly. Such people are simply monsters. Can people understand his genius? But this monster-like talent is really out of reach. Thank you for being a genius, you can actually say such a thing. At this time, another genius, Bai Guiyuan, with red hair, sneered again and again, thinking that what this person said was too ridiculous. What do you mean? The other genius frowned and looked at Bai Guiyuan very dissatisfied. Bai Guiyuan said calmly, "It seems that the machine is broken. How can he be so scary? I also know this person. It turns out that he is the top student in Star City No. 1 middle school named Chen Fan, but he only awakened ordinary talents. His real combat power is 10,000, which is pretty good." The other geniuses all showed expressions of enlightenment. If the machine was broken, they would understand. Wang Long always had a calm face, and his expression didn't seem to change. Even when Chen Fan's true combat power exceeded 100,000, his eyes were still as calm as water. It seemed that nothing in the world could shake his mood. Testing suspended. The female assessor also thought of this possibility and thought that the machine was malfunctioning, so she left for a while. Not long after, she led people to bring up a new machine, and the broken machine was taken down, scrapped, dismantled, and disassembled into parts. This is a new type of machine that can detect up to 300,000 combat units. The female examiner said, and then asked Chen Fan to take the test again. As the highest ability to test 300,000 combat power, Chen Fan originally wanted to make a big splash, but this time he went all out and used his strongest martial arts. But if the 9 slashes of raging flames were really used to superimpose, this machine would definitely have to be scrapped again. This delays the testing of the people behind you. Forget it, the first level isn't that important anyway. Chen Fan stepped forward, took a deep breath, raised his hand and punched out without even using his full strength. Buzz. The combat power was constantly rising, and soon a blood-red number of 110,000 was revealed on it. Seeing this dazzling number, the following fell into silence again and became silent. It can be said that the machine is broken before, but what does this test say now? Could it be that the second machine is broken again? This is simply impossible and just nonsense. How could you have such terrifying fighting power? The female assessor was shocked and even wondered if the above record was wrong. How could an ordinary talent have such a high combat power? Even if there was, it would take a long time to practice, but he remembered that Chen Fan had awakened just over a month ago. How could he practice so fast in such a short period of time? What's going on here? The examiners from other tests also rushed over after hearing the huge commotion here. The tests in other places have also ended, and now only Chen Fan is left, because the replacement of the machine has been delayed for a while. When these assessors saw the dazzling numbers, they were filled with shock. They all thought that someone comparable to the top 10 geniuses had appeared. I think it is very likely that he is a dark horse, and he might be able to reach the top 5 in the assessment. Chen Fan's best friend Zhao Heng was shocked again at this moment, and his lips even trembled a little. How much fighting power does he have? 3,000, it is impossible to even reach the standard, and Chen Fan is dozens of times more than him. It is really shocking. The remaining testers were all desperate and felt that Chen Fan's figure had become particularly tall. Some young and beautiful women even had their eyes shining, looking at Chen Fan's back as if they were looking at an idol. In this era, powerful or extremely talented warriors will become the focus of attention. The most attractive thing is the opposite gender. Almost every woman wants to cling to these talented warriors. But most people just imagine it. A highly talented warrior is like a star in Chen Fan's previous life, and will have many fans. Like the Prince Charming that everyone fantasizes about, he is just out of reach. At this time, the 9 assessors gathered together and discussed the numbers above. What kind of talent does this person have, and why has no one noticed it before? Having a combat power of 110,000 in just over a month must be an extraordinary talent. It seems that one more genius has been added to the top 10. Quote, quote. The examiners were all a little excited when discussing this matter. The more geniuses appear in the test, the better rewards they can get. Suddenly among the 9 assessors, a woman who looked to be in her 30s made a voice on the spot. This female examiner has short, capable hair, fair skin, and strong energy and blood. She is at the peak of her life. She wore a tight-fitting uniform on her upper body, black stockings on her lower body, high heels, and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. It looks a bit like a hot beauty-teacher pairing. Why is he just an ordinary talent? The beautiful assessor shook her head, with a disappointed expression on her face. When the other assessors heard this, their eyes showed expressions of disbelief, and then they also showed expressions of disappointment. Pity. The other examiners sighed and suddenly lost interest. Assessor, I would like to ask, why are you so disdainful of ordinary talents reaching 110,000 combat power? Some students in the audience raised questions in their minds. The female assessor knew that the sound of their discussion was not too quiet, so it was normal for the people below to hear it. Since you want to know, I will explain it to you. As we all know, there are several levels of talent. I won't go into details about this. I believe you all know it. But do you know why there are these levels? It's because talent determines everyone's upper limit. The highest limit for ordinary talent is to become a martial artist. If you want to break through to the master level, unless you have a great opportunity, it will be impossible in this life. Quote, I think this student named Chen Fan must have received some special opportunity to enhance his combat power, but his potential has been almost fully tapped. If he wants to improve his strength later, he will become abnormal, slow. As for those with outstanding talents at a higher level, it is much easier for them to become the top martial arts masters than for people with ordinary talents. As long as they practice in a logical manner, they can become martial arts masters without chance. As for elite-level talents that grow smoothly, they can all become masters, and even top elite talents can hope to become grand masters. These people don't need opportunities. Their own talents are the greatest opportunities. Quote, so ordinary talents may be able to shine at the moment and have shocking combat power, but as time goes by, such people will eventually disappear from everyone. Of course, I am not the one who has the final say on this matter, but there have been people like this before, and they have been recorded. There is more than one such person, and a dozen of them have been discovered so far, all of which were a blockbuster in the early stage. Quote, for example, Zhang I believe you have all heard of it. He became a blockbuster in the past few years and even joined the ranks of top academies. But later on, he was surpassed by everyone around him. Although he has now become a martial artist, those who were defeated by him in the past have now become masters. This is the talent gap. Such words from the beautiful examiner made everyone unable to calm down for a long time. Zhang I and the others had indeed heard that a very dazzling person at the time was even known as the Light of Star City, and it was said that he had the hope of becoming a great master. I didn't expect that after such a long time, I was still only at the martial arts level. It is said that after this person awakened from the examination, he obtained a kind of heavenly material and earthly treasure. After swallowing it, his energy and blood strength increased greatly, and his combat power increased greatly. He did not expect such a result. They knew that Zhang I had already broken through to become a martial artist, but they didn't expect that there was no improvement in so many years. It seems that talent still determines everything. When Chen Fan heard these words, he smiled disdainfully in his heart. If he really had an ordinary talent, he would probably be very disappointed now. But he wasn't, so he didn't take the words to heart. His talent and potential are higher than anyone else's, so there is no need to worry about encountering bottlenecks in the future. All you need to do is bask in the sun and upgrade. I'm afraid it won't take long for me to reach the master realm. Congratulations, you passed the first test. The examiner threw a token into Chen Fan's hand and asked him to walk to the other side. That's the area for passers-by. Chen Fan took the token, nodded slightly, and then waited aside. Soon, everyone was tested. Those who pass will have to go to the next level of testing, and those who fail can leave where they are. Of course, you can also continue to wait and watch in the auditorium. Let me briefly explain to you the assessment of the second level. It is to pass through the passage, but there are ferocious beasts in the passage. You must kill the ferocious beasts to pass the level. The first place that clears the level the fastest can get money and martial arts award. The second place will get. The examiner briefly explained it, but the main thing was that the reward for the first place was actually a powerful C-level martial arts book. As soon as these words came out, things went crazy below. Hundreds of geniuses gathered together, all gearing up to compete for the first place. You must know that the lowest value of C-level martial arts is 30 million, which is several times more valuable than D-level martial arts. I did not expect that it would be directly rewarded. Okay, there are 18 passages in front of you. You will line up in order later and go in one by one. The examiner pointed ahead, where there were more than a dozen small portals with light flowing on them. As long as you opened the door and entered, you would have entered the passage. Everyone nodded and started queuing up as they looked at the token numbers in their hands. First, a genius went in together, while the rest of the people waited outside, but could not see the scene inside. Do you think Chen Fan has a chance to pass through the passage? The examiners were bored and chatted quietly at this moment. I think this is a practical test. Even if you have the strength, you may not be able to defeat some ferocious beasts. If you want to kill the ferocious beasts, you can't just rely on strength. Even if they pass the assessment, I'm afraid no top academy will be willing to accept students with average talents. After all, they have already learned a lesson before. You're right, the first batch of people taking the assessment came out soon. Some of them turned pale with fear, and some even never came out. In this actual combat assessment, they, the assessors, cannot interfere. Life and death are all decided by fate, and wealth is determined by heaven. Only about 13 of the 18 people made it out successfully, and 6 of them looked like they were in a state of panic. They were still very nervous and their spirits were always tense. Let me tell you again, this is a practical assessment, and you may die, because when you enter it, you will encounter powerful beasts and experience a real life and death crisis. Although there are rumors outside that those who can pass the warrior assessment will not have to go to the front line, but real warriors should not be flowers in the greenhouse, so the ferocious beasts inside are all captured from the front line. The ferocious beasts, even in the face of these ferocious beasts, beast is more dangerous than going to the front line. If any of you want to quit, you can do so now. Quote. Looking at the tall and mighty male assessor, after saying these words, several people actually felt like retreating and silently took 2 steps back. But the male assessor's expression didn't change much, and he seemed to be used to it. If you want to quit, just leave. Even if you fail the assessment. Not everyone has the courage to face those ferocious and powerful beasts. Every year, some people voluntarily give up the assessment. I give up, I would rather go to the front line and kill the beasts. After a genius with a combat power of about 20,000 voluntarily gave up, several people followed the genius and left voluntarily, not wanting to continue the assessment. The remaining people seem to be well prepared, but I have to remind you this time that a level 3 ferocious beast will be released this time, which is a ferocious beast that is comparable to a martial artist. You must be mentally prepared. The examiner's words made the expressions of the remaining geniuses change greatly. Among them is Wang Kai. His own combat power is not high, and he also knows how much he weighs. If he really encounters a level 3 ferocious beast, wouldn't he definitely die? What kind of level 3 ferocious beast is it? Genius asks questions. The examiner said calmly, you will know this when you enter the passage. We can't tell you directly. Okay, the chat is over, the rest of you please enter the channel. This time there were 10 geniuses entering the passage, and the examiners mainly focused their attention on the top 10 geniuses. In their opinion, these 10 people will definitely pass. The release of the level 3 ferocious beast this time was not to ask them to kill it, but to test their ability to survive. As long as you can survive for 5 minutes after encountering a level 3 ferocious beast, you will be considered a pass. Of course, it is possible that you will not encounter level 3 ferocious beasts, because the area inside this ferocious beast passage built by the human race is very vast, and there are hundreds or even thousands of ferocious beasts in each passage, so you may not be able to encounter it. This mainly depends on their luck. If you are lucky, you can pass the test successfully without encountering any level 3 ferocious beasts. Chen Fan looked at the token in his hand. There was a word, 2, written on it. It was obvious that he was in the second batch. Chen Fan took the initiative to step forward, pushed open the door in front of him, and entered the beast's passage. When Chen Fan entered the passage, he immediately felt a sense of confusion. This place seemed to be somewhat similar to the second outer area, and it should have been imitated. As soon as he came in, Chen Fan saw a ferocious beast with a terrifying aura. This ferocious beast was the ghost-faced tiger that Chen Fan had encountered for the first time. However, the aura of this ghost-faced tiger was more terrifying than the one he encountered before, even more terrifying than the flaming tiger he encountered before. This is a ferocious and terrifying second-level ferocious beast. Its eyes exude a dangerous light, making people fearful. But Chen Fan didn't feel anything in his heart, because in his opinion, the beast in front of him was just a garbage beast. At least that's how it looks in my own eyes. It's just that the aura is fierce. Outside the human race's heroic pass, there are more terrifying beasts, many times more powerful than these beasts. If I can't even pass this test, let alone killing more terrifying beasts outside the Shang Pass in the future. You're unlucky to meet me. Chen Fan burst out with the power of qi and blood and began to operate martial arts. The ghost-faced tiger sensed the crisis and suddenly let out a tiger roar. Roar. The next moment, in the nearby woods, the leaves swayed slightly, and then two ghost-faced tigers appeared again. It turned out that there were 3 ghost-faced tigers here, surrounding Chen Fan in 3 directions, blocking all Chen Fan's escape routes and trying to put him to death. Roar. There were waves of tiger roars, and 3 ghost-faced tigers simultaneously sprayed out black light from their mouths, turning into beams of light that were about to penetrate Chen Fan. And their limbs were running quickly, approaching quickly. This is a fatal crisis for ordinary warriors, and they will die as soon as they enter. But Chen Fan always had a look of indifference in his eyes. Come on. He even laughed loudly, and then the power of energy and blood was released without any scruples, releasing a terrifying domineering energy that even suppressed 3 ghost-faced tigers. Chen Fan passed by them, and 3 ghost-faced tigers were directly shot in the head. Their headless bodies fell to the ground, exuding the smell of blood. And this bloody smell directly attracted more ferocious beasts nearby. At the same time, outside world, the examiners are watching the video. They are mainly watching channels 1 to 10, which show the scenes of the top 10 geniuses breaking through. Sure enough, there is no false person under such a great reputation. Feng Chengtian is really a monster. The examiner of Ferocious Beast Channel number 1 exclaimed. As soon as Feng Chengtian entered, he encountered several ferocious beasts from the 9th level of warriors, but he killed them easily. It seemed very easy. This road saint is not bad either. He killed a ferocious beast at the 8th level of a warrior in 1 move. Ying Baiqi and Bai Chuyu's performance is also extraordinary. It seems that as long as they don't encounter a 3rd level ferocious beast, they can probably kill them directly through the ferocious beast passage. The assessors were filled with emotion. This kind of genius is so dazzling. In addition to having strong combat power, he can also face ferocious beasts without changing his expression and easily kill them. These 10 geniuses are all well deserved. This kind of performance is simply impeccable. Even if he goes to the battlefield, he is probably a killing machine for ferocious beasts. His psychological quality is really good. Just as they were sighing with emotion, suddenly the tablet in their hands made a beeping sound. This meant that there was an abnormality in one of the passages. The examiners started clicking in unison, and then a picture appeared on the tablet. The passage on the screen is passage 12, which is the passage Chen Fan entered. When the examiners saw the scene in the passage, their eyes instantly shrank, showing expressions of disbelief. How can this be? Is the tablet malfunctioning? The assessors couldn't believe it, because the scene above was even more shocking than the scene where they saw the top 10 geniuses killing ferocious beasts, and it was something they would never forget. Chapter 31. Beast Passage Number 12. There was a lot of blood flowing on the ground, but all the blood belonged to ferocious beasts. A young boy was like a demon god, with an astonishing 12 corpses of ferocious beasts at his feet. And they are all ferocious beasts with extremely terrifying auras. Even after death, they still exude an astonishing aura. Among them were 2 terrifying ferocious beasts that were comparable to the 10th level of warriors. They were the king of the 2nd level ferocious beasts, the exploding rabbit. The 2 ferocious beasts were covered in muscles, and reached an astonishing 10 meters in height. They looked very huge, with a pair of rabbit ears, and their eyes were scarlet. But now such a powerful beast fell completely to the ground without a breath. After Chen Fan killed these 2 terrifying beasts, he discovered that something seemed to be glowing inside the 2 beasts. He stretched out his hand and cut open the belly of the ferocious beast. He saw a crystal stone inside, which was like crystal and emitted red light. This is the ferocious beast crystal. Only some powerful ferocious beasts, whose demonic elixirs mutate, will produce this kind of crystal. This kind of thing is extremely expensive, even the cheapest one costs tens of millions. He has now received 2 directly, which is simply a huge blessing. But Chen Fan had a feeling in his heart, a desire in his body, could he absorb it? However, it was recorded in the books he had read that this kind of thing was extremely dangerous, and the evil spirit on it needed to be purified before it could be absorbed, and it was best to refine it into a pill. Chen Fan was silent for a while, closing his eyes and thinking, and then opened his eyes again, emitting a sharp light. I have an unprecedented God King level talent. I don't necessarily need to refine it into elixirs according to what the books say in order to absorb it. Chen Fan was going to give it a try, and if it didn't work, he would stop absorbing it. Chen Fan mobilized the power of qi and blood in his body and began to refine it. He saw the ferocious beast crystal turning into pure energy and pouring into his body. Chen Fan's qi and blood power continued to increase, and he did not feel any discomfort. As for the evil spirit, it had been easily purified by the flames burning outside his body. Chen Fan immediately began to swallow the second beast crystal, feeling the power in his body growing continuously, and the power of qi and blood became more and more terrifying. Chen Fan felt like a volcano about to erupt, with endless energy all over his body. This feeling is wonderful and comfortable, making people want to roar freely. After about 10 minutes, Chen Fan felt the strength in his body, which directly increased by another 100,000 kilograms, and his physical strength reached a terrifying 500,000 kilograms. Converted into combat power, it is 250,000 combat power. You must know that this is only his basic combat power. I've broken through again. Every time I break through, I can increase my strength by 100,000 kilograms. Chen Fan shook his hands and felt the incomparable power within his body. He originally thought that this practical assessment would not be challenging for him, and his interest was not too high. It should be said that he can get the first place no matter what he does. But now Chen Fan's interest has been completely aroused. There are many ferocious beasts here, and he might even encounter that level 3 ferocious beast. If you kill a level 3 ferocious beast, you may also drop a ferocious beast crystal. After all, the more powerful the beast, the higher the probability of falling. Now that he has reached the second level of martial arts, he is very proud and even hopes to encounter the third level ferocious beast as soon as possible. It seems like this is my chance. Chen Fan grinned and walked deeper into the beast passage. If you want to pass here, you must go out of this beast passage, and you will encounter a large number of beasts on the way. Chen Fan hadn't gone far when suddenly a warning sign appeared in his heart, and he felt a deep, dangerous aura permeating the air. Chen Fan looked back and saw a huge monster. The monster was more than 10 meters long. It had a tongue sticking out of its mouth and was spitting out a strange black liquid. Chen Fan instinctively jumped to the side, subconsciously avoiding these strange liquids. Then he saw black liquid falling where he was just now. Tisk tisk tisk. White smoke actually came out of the ground, directly corroding a pit more than 1 meter wide. At the same time, it exuded a disgusting odor that was hundreds of times worse than the smell of durian. Poison. Chen Fan's expression changed and he quickly covered his mouth and nose with his clothes. Although his energy and blood are powerful and his physique is astonishing, the ferocious beast in front of him contains poison. It seems that he needs to be more careful and fight quickly. This huge python stared at Chen Fan with a pair of scarlet eyes, giving off an extremely dangerous aura. Chen Fan found that this ferocious beast was more terrifying than the 2 10th level warrior beasts he encountered before. But this is not a 3rd level ferocious beast. After all, if it is, the power of blood and energy in its body will reach an astonishing level. The improvement of warriors and martial arts masters is also huge, almost at 2 levels. As long as the ferocious beasts exude such aura, you can feel it. If you dare to sneak up on me, I'll kill you. Chen Fan just happened to have a lot of strength. He wanted to see how many moves this ferocious beast could hold him up. When the giant python rushed towards Chen Fan, it became fierce and aggressive. It kept spraying venom from its mouth and swung its huge tail towards Chen Fan. After a while, There was a deafening sound above the ground. The giant python and beast just now had no breath and fell in a pool of blood. The giant python's head was violently blown open, leaving only a headless body. Sure enough, there is a ferocious beast crystal. Chen Fan cut open the body of the giant python and saw another blood-red crystal. This thing was of great use to him. Chen Fan absorbed it on the spot. Although he did not break through the realm, he gained another 50,000 kilograms of strength. If he takes another piece next time, he will be able to break through again. Then Chen Fan killed all the way, and the ferocious beasts fell into a pool of blood one after another, but no more ferocious beast crystals were found. After all, the probability of this kind of thing appearing is too low. The other side, several examiners were in a daze. When they saw the content on the tablet video, they were shocked beyond words. This was simply outrageous. Who is this ferocious beast? A male examiner's lips were trembling slightly, feeling incredible. In the video, a young man was slaughtering ferocious beasts crazily. None of the ferocious beasts could withstand the boy's moves, and they were all killed by precise moves. As long as the speed is a little slower, it will be torn apart by powerful force. What are you guys saying? Zhong Lin, the beauty assessor in Channel 3, also clicked on the video at this moment, and then she was immediately dumbfounded, with shock on her delicate and flawless face. In the video, the young boy seemed to think that the speed of killing the beast was too slow, so he started to speed up. His speed began to increase, and the power of his blood became even more terrifying. No matter what kind of beast it was killed instantly, without even the strength to resist. The ferocious-looking beasts now looked like a herd of sheep, while the boy who rushed in to kill the beasts turned into a tiger and began to slaughter crazily. It was simply a feast of slaughter. That's the king among the second-level ferocious beasts, Jin Chan. Suddenly, Zhong Lin exclaimed in surprise. I feel that now Chen Fan has faced a tough challenge. He can kill ordinary ferocious beasts, but now he has encountered a terrifying existence among the second-level ferocious beasts, and he will never be able to kill them easily. The other examiners also felt the same, because Chen Fan killed the ferocious beast too fast, which caused an abnormality, and they were also a little unhappy. So I hope Chen Fan will learn a lesson. The second-level ferocious beast was golden in color and had a golden sharp horn on its head. It looked like a cicada magnified thousands of times. At this moment, when this ferocious beast appeared, the surrounding beasts showed fearful expressions and began to retreat one after another. The handsome young man glanced coldly at this second-level ferocious beast, then stretched out his palms and clenched them into fists. Rolling stone punch. A moment later, the body of this powerful ferocious beast was exploded on the spot. It was torn into pieces and its flesh and blood flew everywhere. It was still killed instantly with one move. The battle ended like this, and the examiners outside were all dumbfounded, and even swallowed involuntarily. Is this an ordinary talent? How come such a freak appears among ordinary talents? It's really violent and cruel. I feel like he is scarier than those top 10 geniuses. The examiners were talking a lot and couldn't calm down for a long time. Only the beauty assessor Zhong Lin shook her head and said, even at this level, what does it matter no matter how good your performance is? He is indeed powerful, but unfortunately, he is just an ordinary talent after all. Even if he is powerful now, he will still be easily surpassed by other geniuses in the future. Even though his physical strength is now comparable to that of a martial artist, and his actual combat experience is rich enough, his achievements in this life can only reach the highest level of a martial artist. Maybe he got some chance to be able to practice to such an extent with his ordinary talent, but his future path is almost coming to an end after all. Sometimes one has to accept fate. Quote, hearing Zhong Lin's words, the other assessors fell silent. Although these words are indeed a bit unpleasant, and Zhong Lin is indeed a bit extreme in this regard, it is true. Most of them, these examiners, have excellent talents, so the highest achievement in the future can only be martial arts. If you want to break through, it is impossible without any great opportunity. When Zhong Lin said this, wasn't she talking about themselves? That's right. No matter how amazing this person named Chen Fan is in the early stage, in the end he will only be about the same as us. Forget it, stop paying attention to him. Even now, no matter how outstanding he is, there is probably no academy that will let him join. Let's go take a look at the other 10 geniuses. Those geniuses are extremely talented. Maybe there will be a few great masters in the future. The examiners immediately lost interest and then switched the screen on the tablet video again. The first one to appear was still Feng Changtian. This young man could kill ferocious beasts no faster than Chen Fan. He also used one move at a time, but he still gave people a sense of elegance. The Feng family behind Feng Changtian is said to have produced several great masters and is a veritable warrior aristocrat. Therefore, no one was surprised by Feng Changtian's performance. This Bai Chuyu's assessment is a bit low. An assessor looked at the video on the tablet, his eyes slightly focused. Other assessors have adjusted the video to the number 3 Ferocious Beast channel. There was a girl with blue hair inside. This girl was as cold as a piece of 1,000-year-old ice. The ground froze wherever she passed, obviously releasing his ice talent. Because she awakened her extraordinary talent, the endless ice seemed to be able to freeze everything. This is the Bai family's D-level martial arts, frozen in ice. An examiner recognized that this martial art was not for sale on the market, but was a martial art inherited exclusively by the Bai family. It is said that this kind of martial arts is the most powerful among the D-level martial arts, and it also has additional features that are not available in the market. This characteristic is said to allow people to save physical energy, so Bai Chuyu can unleash her martial arts unscrupulously. You were right, Bai Chuyu should be ranked second. One of the top 10 geniuses who was originally ranked second is indeed not as good as him. The other examiner nodded in agreement. The scene from Channel 2 was playing on his tablet, where a young man with an ordinary face was killing a ferocious beast. This person looks unremarkable, just like an ordinary passerby. After people look at him, they will forget about him the next day. His name is Sikong Yan, and he has awakened extraordinary fire talent. When he uses martial arts, he will carry flames. Behind him is the Sikong family, which is also a powerful family. This Lu Sheng's performance is a bit surprising. Zhong Lin opened the video of Channel 9. The man in the picture is also gifted with ice, but the martial arts he displays does not freeze everything. Instead, the ice is condensed into a blade to kill the ferocious beast. The killing speed is also extremely fast, like a ruthless beast harvester, and its performance is also very impressive. Lu Sheng should be ranked in the top 5. There is an assessment officer's evaluation. There is also Ying Baichi. They say his talent can only rank 5th, but I think his strength should be able to break into the top 3. In the picture in Channel 5, a bronze-skinned boy tore apart dozens of ferocious beasts alive, bathed in the blood of the ferocious beasts, and looked like a god of death. There was evil in his eyes, and the murderous aura in his body felt like it was about to condense into substance. Most of the people who killed ferocious beasts killed them with one move, but he was different. He beat the ferocious beasts to death, and the shrill wails made people feel horrified. And no matter what ferocious beast it is, he is still extremely powerful. It seems that his physical strength is not much weaker than Chen Fan. Another being whose combat prowess is comparable to that of a martial artist. Even the examiners believe that he is more powerful than Situ Yan. Of course, in addition to the top 10 geniuses, there is another genius who is very dazzling, and that is Wang Long. His talent is also at an elite level, but it is not the top. However, compared with the other top 10 talents, his performance can actually be ranked in the top 7. It seems that Wang Long's father made a breakthrough and became a grandmaster some time ago. One of the examiners had a very powerful way of getting information. No wonder he behaves like this. The training resources a grandmaster can obtain are much better than those obtained by a martial artist. But if you have the resources to practice, you may not be able to practice quickly. It seems that this Wang Long is still very good. The examiners rated Wang Long well and thought he could be ranked 7th, but there was no hope for the top 5. Even the lowest ranked Lu Sheng among the top 5 is not comparable to Wang Long. As for the position of number 1 Feng Changtian, they feel that no one can replace him. He is indeed a top-notch extraordinary talent. The other party seemed to have never been serious about killing the ferocious beasts. He looked very relaxed and did not even use powerful martial arts. There was a very obvious gap between him and other geniuses. Channel 1. Boring, so boring. The young man who looked a little lazy was walking forward step by step. This dangerous-looking beast passage was like walking on flat ground for him. Even the aura he released made some ferocious beasts afraid to approach him. Because at this moment, Feng Chengtian has truly achieved a breakthrough as a martial artist, and his energy and blood power are astonishingly powerful. In addition, he has practiced the most powerful martial arts in the Feng family and can even increase his momentum. It's just that he has never used it. In his opinion, the second-level ferocious beast is too weak and not worth using at all. Only level 3 ferocious beasts are qualified for him to use his own martial arts. In Feng Chengtian's opinion, he must be the first place this time because it was extremely fast. Although he did not count the number of ferocious beasts it killed carefully, there were at least hundreds of them. Channel 3. Bai Chuyu is also full of confidence. She feels that the martial arts passed down by her family will allow her to easily get first place in the actual combat assessment without much pressure at all. Channel 9. Lu Sheng was also full of confidence, feeling that this time he must be the first. This was the confidence of a genius. The same is true for Wang Long. How much weaker is he than the top 10 geniuses of confident people? This time, all the geniuses will participate in his foil. Among the other passages, the top geniuses all think this way. For ordinary practitioners, the actual combat assessment is a hellish level of difficulty. If you want to pass it, you will have a narrow escape. But for those top geniuses, the actual combat assessment is not difficult at all, it is just a matter of how fast they pass. There is not much pressure at all, unless you encounter a level 3 ferocious beast. Feng Chengtian is coming out soon, but he must be so lucky that he hasn't encountered a level 3 ferocious beast yet. An assessor felt it was a pity. The scoring standard here is that if you encounter a level 3 ferocious beast, you will get extra points if you can survive it. But Feng Chengtian, even if he encounters a level 3 ferocious beast, he can easily survive for a few minutes, and he is truly the number one. The first place is Feng Chengtian, we have no meaning. The other assessors all thought so. Feng Chengtian passed the assessment all the way without using his true skills at all. His overall strength should be number 1. Bai Chuyu should be coming out soon. Unfortunately, she encountered the level 3 ferocious beast Silver Moon Wolf. It seems she will come out later. She actually froze the Silver Moon Wolf. What a terrifying martial art. The examiner in Channel 2 was full of shock. Others who encountered the level 3 ferocious beast Silver Moon Wolf were constantly dodging and struggling to hold on. And this genius can actually pass directly by freezing, which is really amazing. Ying Baiqi also encountered Silver Moon Wolf. His power was even more terrifying than Silver Moon Wolf. He suppressed it. He beat Silver Moon Wolf away. Silver Moon Wolf's speed is extremely fast among the third-level ferocious beasts, and its strength is indeed a bit weak, but it can drive away the third-level ferocious beasts. This Ying Baiqi's power can be said to be a monster. It really shocked them. At the entrance to passage number 1, Silver Moon Wolf actually ambushed here and sneak attack Feng Chengtian. Silver Moon Wolf failed. One of his forelimbs was cut off by Feng Chengtian and he escaped. An examiner kept exclaiming, and was even more emotional when he saw Feng Chengtian easily cutting off the forelimbs of Silver Moon Wolf. The top 5 performers were almost as expected. As for Lu Sheng in Channel 9, his performance was also very extraordinary. He was not afraid of the Silver Moon Wolf at all, but fought against it head-on. At the same time, Channel 12, the ferocious beasts here are almost piling up into a mountain. There are hundreds of ferocious beasts lying in a pool of blood, exuding a foul smell. The blood of these ferocious beasts gathered together, making people feel sick and want to vomit. There are 500 ferocious beasts, but there are only 3 ferocious beast crystals. This probability is really touching. Chen Fan refined all these ferocious beast crystals, but he only broke through to the 3rd level of martial arts. It seems that the level of a martial artist is not so easy to improve. Forget it, the warm-up is over, I should go out early. Chen Fan burst out with astonishing speed and disappeared in an instant. He originally stayed here to hunt the ferocious beasts, but now he rushed directly towards the entrance of the passage. Nothing can stop him. After walking for about 10 minutes, Chen Fan suddenly stopped. He saw a pure white giant wolf. The teeth of this giant wolf were like the fangs of a saber-toothed tiger and looked extremely long. The giant wolf exuded a more terrifying aura than other ferocious beasts. It was looking at Chen Fan with a fierce expression, and it looked like it might pounce at any time. Level 3 Ferocious Beast Silver Moon Wolf. Chen Fan recognized this ferocious beast. It was not the most terrifying among the third-level ferocious beasts, but it was extremely fast and difficult to guard against. Killing you should drop a new beast crystal. Chen Fan was not surprised but overjoyed. A sharp light shone in his eyes, and the aura on his body became dangerous. At the same time, outside world, the examiners are all staring at one picture, that is Channel 1. Feng Chengtian was only 10 minutes away from passage number 1. As long as he passed through, he would be in first place. And there are no ferocious beasts that can stop him along the way. They are all waiting for the number 1 to be born. But at this moment, an examiner accidentally ignored the scene in passage 13. The tablet showed that Chen Fan also met the Silver Moon Wolf. He suddenly became interested and wanted to see how Chen Fan broke through the Silver Moon Wolf and rushed to the back of the passage. However, the next moment, his mouth opened wide, and he stood motionless as if he had been electrocuted. People are speechless when they are most shocked, just like the assessor at this moment. This was a male assessor. At this moment, he felt as if he had seen a legend. He actually killed Silver Moon Wolf, and he only used one move. After a long time, he came back to his senses and exclaimed. At this time, when the other examiners heard these words, their hearts trembled violently, and they all focused their gazes on Channel 12. They saw that after Chen Fan killed the Silver Moon Wolf, he burst out with astonishing speed and rushed towards the exit of Channel 1. And it seems that if we keep going at this speed, I'm afraid it will only take 3 minutes to come out completely. Their guesses were all wrong. It seemed that the real number 1 was probably Chen Fan. Because Chen Fan's performance was the most amazing, this level not only tested the speed of clearing the level, but also tested the killing of vicious beasts. Even if Chen Fan is not the first to pass the level, he has even killed the level 3 ferocious beast Silver Moon Wolf, so he should be ranked first in the overall assessment. It seems that we all guessed wrong. The first place should be Chen Fan. It's a bit hard to accept an ordinary talent number 1. Should we let him join the talent training camp? The examiners were very shocked at this moment and had an indescribable feeling. If this kind of thing spreads, people in other cities will probably laugh at the people in their 36th city. Not far from the examiners, there are teachers and principals from major schools. At this moment, the principal of Xingcheng No. 1 middle school was holding a thermos cup in his hand, smiling broadly and looking very happy. Next to him, Zhang Zhengguo was equally excited. He originally heard what the principal said and thought that Chen Fan would not be able to shine this time and that he might not even make it into the top 30. But he didn't expect that Chen Fan would give him such a huge surprise. This was simply too surprising. The other teachers looked at the huge LCD screen in front of them, which was hundreds of inches long. There are a total of 18 such screens here, representing 18 ferocious beast passages, and each one is numbered. They, the teachers, can also watch, because the examiners select them from teachers from major schools. Each school rotates each year. No, it's impossible, we absolutely cannot let Chen Fan be first. The female assessor Zhang Lin lost control. She saw the scene on the video and could not accept this reality. She didn't want them to become a big joke to other cities. This was the case back then. The original genius was discovered by her father. Although it was just an ordinary talent, it was extremely amazing. Who knew that she would be so ordinary later? Even her father, who was supposed to be promoted, was expelled from school. The reason for the expulsion was that an important figure in the top 10 university palaces was very dissatisfied. He just said something casually and someone took it to heart. In front of those big shots, martial arts masters like them are nothing more than ants, and their fate can be determined by just a few words. She would never allow what happened before to happen again. Why not? How is it impossible? The female examiner's voice was too loud, which made Principal Wang of Xingcheng No. 1 middle school very dissatisfied. Was this denying them? Zhang Zhengguo also looked filled with indignation and glared at Zhang Lin, feeling extremely unhappy. When Zhonglin saw Principal Wang, a trace of fear flashed in her eyes. Those who could serve as principal were all masters and were much more powerful than him, a martial artist. Naturally, she did not dare to offend him easily. Looking at Principal Wang and Zhang Zhengguo walking over, Zhonglin explained, "Principal Wang, you misunderstood. It's not that I don't want to give Chen Fan first place, but giving him first place is really a waste. Feng Chengtian is a top-notch extraordinary talent. If he joins the talent training camp after being number 1, he will definitely grow up quickly." However, Principal Wang and the others did not agree with his words, and other examiners also shook their heads. If this was really done, wouldn't it mean there was something shady? The warrior assessment they conduct must be absolutely fair and impartial, otherwise how will they convince the public once they are exposed? I don't agree with your explanation. I think Chen Fan deserves to be number 1. With his assessment speed, he has already broken the record of 36 cities. In addition, he has the ability to kill the Silver Moon Wolf alone. It would be difficult for anyone else to win the first place except Chen Fan. Quote. The other examiners and teachers also nodded in agreement, thinking that the male examiner was right. Principal Wang was also very satisfied with what the male assessor said. The 36-city assessment they organize may not happen once every 10 years. This is a grand event, so it must be absolutely fair. To do otherwise would be an insult to these assessment geniuses. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Why don't you understand? Do you know how cruel the talent training camp is? With enough training resources, those powerful geniuses can surpass Chen Fan in an instant. Even if Chen Fan joins them, he will soon be at the bottom and may even be eliminated. Quote. Moreover, those real top geniuses are almost all nobles. Those people have unlimited resources and deep foundations since they were young. Their strength may have surpassed Chen Fan. I don't know how much. They are not on the same level at all. Only if Feng Chengtian becomes the number 1, with his top extraordinary talent and the foundation he has built since childhood, can he be able to bring glory to our 36 cities. As for the others, as long as they can stay in the genius training camp, that's it. The first place largely determines the reputation of our 36 cities. Do we really want Chen Fan to go? Everyone fell silent when they heard Zhonglin's words, because what he said did make sense. Nonsense. Zhang Zhengguo was fuming and looked very unhappy. Everything you said is crooked. Chen Fan got it by his own ability, and he didn't cheat. He can only be the first. Zhonglin looked cold and said, then can you guarantee that Chen Fan can break through and become a Grand Master in the future? He is just an ordinary talent. How do you know he has an ordinary talent? Can't he awaken the second talent? Zhang Zhengguo argued. Zhonglin sneered. Geniuses who can awaken dual talents are truly rare, even rarer than the highest level of God-level talents. Even other people felt that what Zhang Zhengguo said was indeed a bit outrageous. How could a warrior with 2 natural talents appear in a small star city? If it is true, I am afraid that all 10 academic palaces have sent people to take the initiative to admit Chen Fan into the academy. Warriors with dual talents are said to have extremely high potential, not weaker than God-level talents. The rarity of such people can be described as finding a needle in a haystack. Zhang Zhengguo's face darkened. He was indeed unsure whether Chen Fan was born with dual talents. Okay, it's pointless for us to argue about this. Let me tell you this. If the first place goes to Feng Chengtian, our human race will have a peerless strong man in the future, and he can also help us for the entire 36. The city will be honored, but if it is given to Chen Fan, it will be a waste of natural resources and it will severely embarrass our 36 cities. How to choose, you should know in your hearts. I also know that none of you want to be this evil person, but for 36 cities, I am willing to be this evil person. I will go to him personally and persuade him to give up this reward. Zhong Lin, a righteous speaker, seemed to have transformed into a messenger of justice at this moment. Everyone started to discuss. Some people thought it shouldn't be like this, and some people thought it should be like this. The results of the discussion are difficult to agree on. Since no one can convince anyone, I will enter the number 12 Ferocious Beast passage first. I will meet with Chen Fan and discuss with him. If he agrees, you will have no objections, right? Zhong Lin glanced at everyone's faces. That's all. A principal stood up and nodded in agreement, and then other principals and assessors also nodded. Zhonglin then left the crowd and went directly to aisle 12. Among the 12 channels, a young man with a handsome appearance and extraordinary temperament exhaled gently, and a strong wind blew up in place, making a violent whistling sound. Swallowed the ferocious beast crystal, and finally stepped into the 4th level of martial arts. The young man is Chen Fan, and he now feels that his whole body is filled with endless power. This silver moon wolf's crystal indeed gave him a greater improvement than the crystals of other ferocious beasts. His current strength has reached 700,000 kilograms, and is still growing, because he has not completely digested the power of silver moon wolf's crystal stone. Now converted into combat strength, the pure combat strength has reached 350,000. This is a very scary number. You must understand that this is just basic combat power without using any martial arts. Now Chen Fan has arrived at the entrance of the passage. He is only a few meters away. He can leave at any time. But at this moment, Chen Fan suddenly heard the sound of footsteps and felt an extremely strong force of energy and blood. Is it possible that there are still ferocious beasts? Chen Fan could feel that the power of this energy and blood was more terrifying than the silver moon wolf, and he became very interested. There was a sharp light in his eyes, mobilizing the power of qi and blood in his body, and he stared straight ahead. In Chen Fan's sight, a shadow appeared. The shadow gradually lengthened, and the footsteps got closer and closer. Kill! Chen Fan instantly rose up. Like a fierce tiger, the terrifying power of energy and blood exploded at this moment, then he clenched his fist and punched forward. The power of this punch was so terrifying that it made one's scalp numb. The void seemed to be defeated by pure and powerful power. At this moment, Chen Fan didn't look like a person at all, but like a terrifying beast that was going crazy. That kind of astonishing and unparalleled terrifying power made people's hearts tremble with fear. Zhonglin had just stepped into passage number 12, and before she had gone far, she felt a terrifying force coming towards her. She didn't take it seriously, knowing that this power was Chen Fan. He found that Chen Fan seemed to like killing ferocious beasts and wanted to obtain ferocious beast crystals. But he could understand. After all, Chen Fan was just a child from an ordinary family. It is different from other big families. For geniuses, they can obtain the cultivation of ferocious beast crystals from an early age. Therefore, most of those geniuses rely on clearing customs. They do not want to kill ferocious beasts here and slowly obtain ferocious beasts. Beast crystal. Because they do not lack such cultivation resources, and they have already laid their own foundation. Let me see how strong you are. Zhonglin sneered. She didn't think Chen Fan's power could hurt her. This was his confidence in his later years as a martial artist. Those who can serve as assessors are all elites among teachers, and may even break through and become masters in the future, but the probability is extremely small and requires a certain amount of opportunity. If there is no opportunity, the highest achievement in this life is just a martial arts master. She stretched out a pair of white palms and grabbed them forward. The power of qi and blood in her body also exploded immediately, and she used martial arts immediately. Martial arts dragon capture hand. Her 2 pairs of jade hands became harder than steel at this moment. They seemed to be indestructible, and they had a strong pulling force and absorption force. Chen Fan felt that his fist was forcibly absorbed by a powerful force, and it actually directly removed 3/10 of his strength. But Chen Fan's expression didn't change much, he just felt a little surprised. I thought it was a ferocious beast, but with such exquisite martial arts, I am afraid only humans can display it. However, Chen Fan had no intention of stopping. He also wanted to see how powerful he would be when he truly exploded with power. It just so happened that this strong man who suddenly appeared should be an examiner or something, and he could compete with him. At the same time, outside world, at the entrance of passage number 1, a lazy young man walked out. He looked at the other passages, then withdrew his gaze, showing a bored expression. It seems that the first place is mine. Feng Chengtian didn't have any big feelings. He had won too many first places since he was a child. He was first every time. No one could compare with him. Even this time, there were other geniuses, but none of them could compare with him. They were just trash, not worthy of his too much attention. He believed that his opponent could only be encountered in the talent training camp. It is said that this is a talent training camp that will recruit talents from all over the country. Only then will the real fun begin. Unlike now, being alone without an opponent is really boring. Later, other geniuses appeared from the exit of the passage. The second person to appear was Bai Chuyu, a blue-haired girl. The martial arts she practiced could freeze everything and was extremely energy-saving, so she was ranked second, which was expected by everyone. But the third place was somewhat unexpected. It was not Sikong Yan, but Ying Baichi. The fifth place is Lu Sheng, and more geniuses will appear one after another. The top 5 have been completely born, and Sikong Yan has a place. But the ranking is only 4th. The top 5 have been completely born. This ranking is too unexpected. It seems that some of the top 10 geniuses have unlimited potential. Everyone was in an uproar. What are the top 5? Didn't we only have 4 in the top 5? Ying Baichi heard someone talking and his face was full of doubts. Not just him, but other geniuses as well, because they heard other people discussing that the top 5 had been completely born. But they didn't think too much about it, since everything would be announced later, and they would also be able to get the answer to whether they had made a mistake. At this moment, Wang Long also walked out of the 11th passage. He looked at the number of people who came out, and his expression was a little gloomy. He thought he could surpass the top 10 geniuses, but he still underestimated him. He is now only the 10th, which means he is ranked 10th. Can he only surpass one of the top 10 geniuses? Wang Long felt unwilling, but he could only accept this reality. However, such achievements are different in the eyes of others. For example, his followers, those geniuses with excellent talents, are all extremely excited. Let me just say, Brother Long is definitely no weaker than the top 10 geniuses. Brother Long can be ranked in the top 10 this time. It's really impressive. One of the top 10 geniuses has been eliminated. Brother Long is awesome. The other side. In Channel 12. Boom. A huge and dull bombardment sounded. Zhong Lin, who was wearing black stockings, was in a very embarrassed state at the moment. Her arms were shaking non-stop, and she had a surprised expression on her face. What a little monster. Zhong Lin never thought that she, a 7th-level martial artist, would be knocked back by a junior with just one punch. Even if she used her own martial arts to weaken Chen Fan's strength, she still felt like her arm would be broken, a feeling of, "My arm now feels numb and begins to shake uncontrollably." However, as a powerful martial artist, she adjusted her energy and blood, and soon suppressed this feeling, and her arms no longer felt tingling and numb. Interesting, come again. Chen Fan saw clearly the appearance of the female examiner, but he still didn't look like he wanted to stop. This was the first time he saw someone able to withstand the power of his punch. Although he had not yet used his martial arts skills, even a ferocious beast could not withstand such power. It seems that the beautiful examiner in front of me is more powerful than the ferocious beast. Isn't this interesting? After finally finding someone who could compete with him, Chen Fan naturally didn't want to give up, but wanted to use his strength freely. "Stop, I'm not here to fight with you." Zhong Lin saw Chen Fan's eyes and the words coming out of his mouth, and immediately felt that the situation had changed. She only came to persuade Chen Fan, not to fight with him. It's just a pity that although Chen Fan is powerful, his achievements are still not as good as others. Compared with the real top geniuses, he only makes people feel amazing in the early stage, but becomes weak later on. This is how the gap between geniuses and ordinary people widens. Time will verify everything. When Chen Fan saw that the examiner had said this, he naturally could not continue to take action, so he had to restrain his energy and blood, and then looked at the examiner. What exactly did the examiner want to say? He didn't believe that the examiner would come to the beast intersection for no reason. After all, the examiner had said before that they would not interfere with anything in the assessment. Now that he suddenly came in, he must have something to explain. And this matter is most likely related to him, otherwise the other party would not have to come in and explain it in advance. Your performance in the actual combat assessment was indeed amazing, which shocked us examiners. Zhong Lin did not express her thoughts at the beginning, but praised Chen Fan first. There's no need to talk so much nonsense, let's get straight to the point. Chen Fan was too lazy to listen to these words because they were meaningless. Okay, Then I'll be honest, I want to discuss it with you, and I hope you can give up this ranking. Zhang Lin looked serious, and it seemed that she was not joking with Chen Fan. Chen Fan's expression darkened, then he glanced at her and said, if this is an assessment, this is unnecessary. If this is not an assessment, then you are sick. Quote. Zhang Lin was not angry when she heard Chen Fan's words. Instead, she continued in a pleasant tone. Do you know where your score in this assessment is? It's number 1. The first representative is the face of our 36 cities. People must be self-aware. What will happen to a person with ordinary talent like you, even if he joins a genius training camp? It is a place where geniuses gather together. Once you enter, you will be severely left behind by other geniuses, and your confidence will be damaged when the time comes. It is even very likely that you will never recover from this. Quote. Chen Fan didn't listen to anything else the female examiner said. He only listened to what he liked. So I'm number 1. Chen Fan's result was not a big surprise, he just thought it was natural. At this moment, Zhang Lin was still chattering. After all, you are just a commoner. Others have family support behind them. They can obtain better cultivation resources and build a better foundation early on. If you give them sea-level martial arts, they can become stronger instantly and succeed in practicing in a very short time. But if you give it to you, you will not be able to exert the full power of sea-level martial arts in this life. Quote. Although you may be very angry if I say this, but nobles are nobles and civilians are civilians. You should give up the first place reward this time. Chen Fan didn't take the other party's words to heart at first, but when he heard the last paragraph, Chen Fan felt particularly unhappy. This female examiner mentioned the word, commoner, every day. What's wrong with being a civilian? With a big family behind him, can a nobleman dominate the world with one hand? If this is really the case, then why is it necessary to set up a warrior assessment that both civilians and nobles can participate in? The birds know the ambitions of the swans. Just because you have a disease in your head doesn't mean that I have a disease in my brain. Get out. Chen Fan said completely rudely to the beautiful examiner in front of him. Although this examiner is quite beautiful, and wearing black stockings, it is indeed pleasing to the eye. But she said it like a fool, always thinking that everyone is the same as the people she knows. Zhang Lin heard Chen Fan's words and immediately snorted. If you don't know what is good, you will definitely regret it when you get to the genius training camp. Since Chen Fan couldn't get enough of him, she didn't want to persuade him too much. She was lucky enough to visit the genius training camp and saw the geniuses there. Although some people were lower in level than her, they had amazing energy and blood. She even saw in a video that some geniuses directly killed some terrifying beasts. Those were all level 3 ferocious beasts, and even if she encountered them, she would have to run away as soon as possible. So she knew very well that the genius training camp was a concentration camp for the real evil geniuses. None of them were good, but they were all geniuses with amazing talents. After leaving the genius training camp, these geniuses may have grown to a level beyond his reach. Maybe they have become 1 or 2 great masters now. Zhang Lin turned around and left, leaving Chen Fan behind. Chen Fan didn't take it seriously and walked towards the exit. He was confident that he would not fall behind anyone. When they arrived at the genius training camp, those geniuses would eventually be stepped on by him one after another, unable to stand up. Chen Fan believes in his God King talent and his hard work, which cannot be easily surpassed by others. Chen Fan stepped out from the intersection and looked outside. Many geniuses had come out. Those geniuses were looking at him with arrogance and even a scrutinizing expression. Chen Fan was a little unhappy. After all, he knew that he was the first. Even if these people came out earlier than him, they could only line up behind him. If it weren't for the female instructor who suddenly appeared, he might have been the first one to appear in front of everyone. The last one to come out, Chen Fan, you are really a waste. Wang Kai said sarcastically. It's just that I was surprised that you came out alive. I thought you would die there. He said these words without politeness and deliberately ridiculed Chen Fan. Chen Fan glanced at him coldly at this moment. Wang Kai suddenly felt that he seemed to be locked, and felt a chill all over. Then he looked around, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Fan, my brother Wang Long is ranked 10th, and he is now one of the new top 10 geniuses. Wang Kai lowered his voice and whispered. He thought that a certain genius just disliked him for being too noisy, so he released pressure to scare him. 10th place. Chen Fan smiled disdainfully, not taking this ranking to heart at all. What ability does a person who barely ranks 10th have? He's not even qualified to join the genius training camp, so he's just a loser. But in Wang Kai's eyes, he thought Chen Fan was shocked, and he suddenly showed a triumphant expression. Wang Long felt very comfortable when he heard Wang Kai praising him so much. He glanced at Chen Fan and didn't take it to heart at all, thinking that one of Chen Fan would be in the sky and the other would be underground in the future. Their future achievements will also be very different. Maybe when you look back many years from now, you will laugh at what happened today. Wang Long didn't pay too much attention to Chen Fan. In the future, they were destined to be people from two different worlds. They were rivals in the past, but in the future, they may not even be qualified to meet each other. Although number 10 cannot join the genius training camp, he can join the academy, obtain higher level martial arts, and even surpass his father. Then, the remaining geniuses also entered the Beast Passage for assessment. By the time all the geniuses entered the ferocious Beast Passage and came out, it was already dawn the next day. Now that you are all out, it's time to announce the assessment rankings. A tall and burly examiner stood up. He was the examiner this time. Everyone's eyes focused on the examiner. They don't know the name of the examiner, but they are looking forward to the ranking the examiner will read out next. Next, I will arrange the results on the screen. Of course, only the top 30 will be announced. The remaining people can be regarded as passing the warrior assessment and become official warriors, but their rankings will not be recorded. The chief examiner told everyone these words. Hundreds of geniuses are all extremely nervous. Only the top 30 are eligible for ranking, and the rest may not be considered geniuses. Number 30. Wake up. Number 29. Li Fei. Quote. The rankings were announced one by one, all the way to the 11th place. Wang Long saw that Chen Fan's name was not included in the last place, and he knew that Chen Fan was completely eliminated. However, this was beyond his expectation. In his opinion, Chen Fan was just an ordinary talent. Maybe he is just a little stronger, but he will definitely be helpless when encountering a real ferocious beast, so he cannot be listed on the ranking list. Chen Fan is really a waste. He can't even be ranked on the ranking list. Wang Kai sneered again and again. Although he didn't make it, Wang Long did. He is a follower of Wang Long and a relative, which will bring him many benefits in the future. He knew that Wang Long hated Chen Fan in the past, so now he wanted to keep hitting Chen Fan and show off more in front of Wang Long. Wang Long's other followers also criticized Chen Fan at this moment. You dared to steal women from my brother long before. You don't want to pee to see what you look like, do you think you deserve it? Trash is trash, no matter what you do, a chicken can never become a phoenix. Chen Fan was at peace in his heart and didn't pay any attention to the rubbish said by these idiots. I'll slap them in the face later. Chen Fan also knew very well in his heart that these extremely stupid idiots were not from the same world as him. Why bother talking to them? Wouldn't it be lowering one's own standards to quarrel with these idiots? Maybe it will be photographed by someone who cares about it, and then it will directly become a hot search. First place in the 36 cities warrior assessment, and he has no quality to fight with others. In Chen Fan's opinion, these people who deliberately target him are just like the keyboard warriors on the internet, who start complaining without knowing the truth of the matter. After the truth came out, they reversed course. They didn't have to pay any price anyway, they just wanted to rant without thinking. If you argue with this group of people here, you are hopelessly stupid. Number 11. Wang Long. Wang Long, who was still looking proud at first, was stunned when he saw the report on the LCD screen, his eyes filled with disbelief. I don't believe it, why am I 11th? Wang Long felt like he was going crazy. He was ranked above one of the top 10 geniuses. Why could he only be given 11? Who replaced him? Is it possible that there is a shady secret behind this assessment? Or maybe it was booked in advance by a disciple of a certain big family. Wang Long clenched his palms and his nails pierced his skin without feeling anything, thinking that he had been humiliated and unfair. As for the audience in the auditorium, they were also shocked. They remembered that Wang Long was indeed the 10th, but why was he ranked 11th? So who is the 10th place? The answer was soon revealed. 10th place, Murong Kuishui. This was one of the original top 10 geniuses. He should have been ranked 9th among everyone's perceptions, but he ended up being ranked 1 behind. The subsequent rankings were also announced one by one. The examiners and teachers were all very calm because they already knew the rankings. When these assessors were discussing rankings, they stood nearby. This warrior assessment, the real ranking, they are qualified to watch from the sidelines, and even qualified to give opinions. But as for these opinions, whether the examiners accept them or not is their own business. But the only thing that is certain is that absolute fairness and justice must be maintained. The audience exclaimed again and again. Obviously, this ranking was beyond all their expectations. Number 5. Liu Sheng. 4th place, Sikong Yan. 3rd place, Bai Chuyu. Number 2. Feng Chengtian. When the ranking was announced, Feng Chengtian's eyes burst out with astonishing light, like 2 bolts of lightning, streaking through the void. The geniuses around them all felt a frightening pressure, feeling like a sleeping beast waking up at this moment. They felt a sense of threat and could not help but get goosebumps on their bodies. What a terrifying power of energy and blood. I'm afraid this is not the early stage of martial arts. Bai Chuyu felt the power of qi and blood and made a comment. Because she is also a martial artist, but Feng Chengtian's momentum is obviously much stronger than hers. Even Feng Chengtian can only be ranked 2nd, so who is ranked 1st? When did such a freak appear among their geniuses? Able to surpass Feng Chengtian. The other geniuses also suspected that there might be something behind this assessment. In their opinion, if the first place is Feng Chengtian, they will definitely agree with it, but if it is another person, they will not be able to accept it. Facing Feng Chengtian, many of them felt that they were no match. But if the number 1 who suddenly appears is not as strong as them, then why can he be the number 1? And among the remaining geniuses, they didn't think anyone could surpass Feng Chengtian in strength. 1st place, Chen Fan. Just when everyone was in shock and making guesses, blood-red numbers were displayed on the screen. The 1st place in this assessment was finally revealed. But what greeted this 1st place was not shock, but silence from the audience. Even the people in the audience thought this was incredible. Father Chen and Mother Chen looked at each other in confusion. Looking at the numbers displayed above, they felt that they should be people with the same name. Mom, that's my brother's name. Is he the number 1? Chen Shui was still young. She was very excited and had no other doubts. She just thought that Chen Fan was the number 1 and she felt very proud. Please keep your voice down, it may not be your brother. Mother Chen quickly interrupted her daughter to continue talking nonsense. They, the people in the audience, can only see the rankings, not the content of the assessment. In their hearts, they believed that Chen Fan could pass the 1st level assessment and do well in the qi and blood test, let alone get 1st place in the subsequent assessments. I'm afraid others will laugh if I tell you this. It's not that they don't want to believe it, but that their son is just an ordinary talent. How can he beat the others? Unless their son comes out and tells them personally, they won't believe it. In the examination room, Wang Long's face was full of jealousy. He raised questions on the spot. I don't believe it. Chen Fan was clearly the last one to come out. Why is he the 1st? Is this a shady story? If so, what's the point of this warrior assessment? What's the purpose of letting geniuses like us serve as foils for an ordinary talent? The examiner heard the questioning and stood out from the crowd. The terrifying power of qi and blood in his body exploded, everything around him became a little thicker at this moment, and the surrounding air seemed to be emptied out at this moment. Everyone felt an unparalleled pressure, as if there was a big mountain pressing on their shoulders. As the head examiner, there is no doubt about the examiner's strength. He is only 1 step away from reaching the master level. Quiet, his voice spread out like a loudspeaker, instantly suppressing Wang Long who was about to riot. Wang Long gritted his teeth at this moment, with a look of reluctance on his face. He did not feel that the chief examiner was right. Instead, he felt that the other party was deliberately covering up. It was too disgusting to create a shady case here. Although he didn't know why Chen Fan was able to bribe these examiners, he just wasn't willing to do it. How could an ordinary talent step on his head? Assessor, you should give us an explanation. Feng Chengtian spoke. He was such a proud person. If this matter hadn't been for him, he would have felt weird and would never have taken the initiative to ask. The chief assessor glanced at Feng Chengtian with a kind smile on his face. He didn't have to care about Wang Long's thoughts, but Feng Chengtian was a big shot in the future and would surpass him sooner or later. Faced with such a genius, the chief examiner would naturally be polite. Feng Chengtian, I know you all have objections. I guess other geniuses think the same way, right? However, our warrior assessment is guaranteed to be absolutely fair and impartial. Next, please watch the video on the screen and you will know whether it is true or false. Then, he opened a video and started playing it on the big screen. On the huge LCD screen, a handsome young man was frantically slaughtering ferocious beasts, and the ground was covered with blood. Hundreds of ferocious beasts fell into a pool of blood, which was horrifying to see. But that's not the most shocking thing. The most terrifying thing is that the boy encountered the silver moon wolf. This third-level ferocious beast is so fast that even if it is stronger, they may not be able to kill them. Then, the handsome young man on the screen took action, without any unnecessary movements, just a simple burst of martial arts. Ouch! Silver Moon Wolf screamed and was hit by a blow on the body. He fell down on the spot, blood spilled on the spot, and he died immediately. Feng Chengtian's pupils tightened when he saw this part. He had also encountered the Silver Moon Wolf, but this ferocious beast was extremely cunning. It seemed that he sensed that his aura was stronger than his, and he was very wary of him. That's why he only cut off one of the Silver Moon Wolf's forelimbs, allowing the monster to escape and disappear completely. I have no objection. After watching this video, Feng Chengtian no longer questioned the authenticity of this matter. In fact, he could also kill Silver Moon Wolf, but he didn't hide his aura in advance to let the other party be on guard. Originally, he looked down on the kind of people who like to restrain their energy and blood, but now he knows that sometimes one decision can change fate. For example, he can only rank second this time, but if he knows how to restrain his energy and blood in advance, he might be able to rank first. He lost this round and he was convinced. When Principal Wang and Zhang Zhengguo saw the content played on the video, the smiles on their faces never stopped. Not long ago, they thought it was incredible when they saw the scene in the video, and they didn't understand how an ordinary talent could be so powerful. Being able to kill Silver Moon Wolf means that Chen Fan is already a martial artist. This is an 18-year-old martial artist. It's just a pity that it is an ordinary talent. It will be too difficult to break through the master in the future, and the probability is almost zero. However, being able to become the top martial artist may not mean much in a place where there are so many geniuses outside, but in Star City, you can change your class. And since people like Chen Fan can break people's perceptions once, they might do it a second time. Wang Long saw Silver Moon Wolf lying on the ground, his face full of disbelief, and his expression even gradually became ferocious. I don't believe it. You are lying. Wang Long felt like he was going crazy. Why did the person who was clearly far behind him suddenly suppress him? Even Wang Long's followers had expressions of disbelief on their faces, and no one dared to speak anymore. Originally, they were still mocking Chen Fan, but now, they just hope that Chen Fan will not hold grudges and settle accounts with them in the future. Even though Chen Fan's talent is just like this, Chen Fan's current cultivation level is much stronger than theirs. He can also join the genius training camp and is stronger than them. If I were to teach them a lesson after coming back from the genius training camp, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to fight back. But at this moment, Chen Fan didn't care at all about what people like Wang Kai were thinking. Chen Fan, do you dare to accept my challenge? If you don't, it will prove that you are cheating. Wang Long pointed at Chen Fan and roared. When Chen Fan heard this, he smiled disdainfully and said, "Why should I accept your challenge? I don't need to prove it to you whether it's true or not." When Wang Long heard this, he burst out laughing on the spot. Ha ha ha, if you are afraid, I will know that this must be a fake. Otherwise, how could you, a useless ordinary talent, get to this point? He now believes more and more that Chen Fan cheated on purpose. As for the other geniuses, they all remained silent. They all thought Wang Long was crazy. Being able to kill the Silver Moon Wolf with one strike, how could this be fake? Is it possible that the third-level ferocious beast will cooperate with Chen Fan in acting? Chen Fan, since he questions you so much, you might as well give it a try with him. Zhang Zhengguo said. He is Chen Fan's class teacher, so Chen Fan naturally has to give this class teacher some face. Since teacher Zhang has said so, I agree to compete with him. Chen Fan nodded and agreed. To him, it was just a matter of punching him. Those words he just said deliberately were just to make Wang Long angry. In his memory, this Wang Long had often opposed him in the past, and even did some very excessive things, deliberately targeting him. Do you want us to prepare the venue? The chief examiner asked Chen Fan. Chen Fan shook his head. It will be solved soon, please wait a moment. Wang Long heard Chen Fan's words and said with a sarcastic smile, you still think you can suppress me with one move? Who do you think you are? Chen Fan did not explain, but said calmly, you take action, otherwise there will be no chance to take action. Court death. Wang Long was furious and mobilized all his energy and blood to directly use the D-level martial arts double snake whip. I saw the flames surging on his body, condensing into 2 flame whips, and swung them towards Chen Fan. Facing this blow, Chen Fan didn't even look at it, and simply used the most common F-level martial arts Rolling Stone Fist. Of course, Rolling Stone Fist's current increase for him is not big, but Chen Fan doesn't care, his own basic combat power is enough to crush the opponent. Sure enough, after his fist touched the flame whip, he defeated it directly, and then fell on Wang Long, forcing him back dozens of steps, leaving a fist mark on his body. The battle ended like this. Feng Chengtian and the others were moved, with shocked expressions on their faces. Interesting, so interesting. Feng Chengtian was even a little excited, finally meeting someone who could compete with him. Bai Chuyu had a solemn look on her face, and felt a little emotional in her heart, why another freak like Feng Chengtian appeared. Liu Sheng, Sikong Yan, and Ying Baiqi, who was ranked 6th this time, were also secretly shocked by the power of qi and blood that Chen Fan unleashed. Of course they knew that Chen Fan was not using his true skills at all, otherwise it would be impossible for him to only use the lowest level of martial arts. But even so, he actually directly suppressed Wang Long, so how terrifying is his true strength? His energy and blood are stronger than mine. If we meet head-on, I should not be his opponent. No wonder he ranks first. Liu Sheng thought to himself. He also made a breakthrough and became a martial artist, and also practiced the top D-level martial arts. I thought I would be ranked first this time, but I was only ranked 5th, which shows how valuable this warrior assessment is. It seems that whoever comes out first will have a higher ranking. In this actual combat assessment, killing ferocious beasts should also be a bonus. Ying Baiqi understood this best. He clearly came from the ground, but he was only ranked 6th. It should be because he killed too few ferocious beasts in the passage. Now he feels a little regretful. There is only one place missing, and he doesn't even have a day off at the talent training camp, but he can use his own talent to be no worse than the top 5. Just when everyone was shocked, the female assessor Zhang Lin shook her head and said, Chen Fan, so what if you are in the limelight now? In the genius training camp, you are just a clown after all. Then you will know how ridiculous your choice today is. Quote. Wang Long's psychological defense completely collapsed at this moment. It was difficult for him to accept his failure, his face was full of ferocity, and his expression was distorted. He even fell to his knees on the ground, looking like he was worse off than dead. But no one is paying attention to him now. Among the crowd, there was a young woman wearing a precious and exquisite bracelet, whose face was also full of shock at this moment. This woman has a beautiful appearance and a pair of bright eyes, like 2 beautiful gems. She even helped Chen Fan at first, but later she felt that Chen Fan and she were from 2 different worlds, so she didn't think much about it. He just didn't expect that Chen Fan would successfully pass the assessment this time and get first place, and his thoughts became more active. Originally, she wanted to keep a distance from Chen Fan and deliberately avoid him. Because she felt that helping Chen Fan was her last repayment. Chen Fan should be grateful to her, otherwise he would be a white-eyed wolf. But she thought about the time when everyone thought Chen Fan was not number 1. She was laughing at that time, but now he slapped her hard in the face. Chu Xin felt a little hot on her face. But then I thought, if this is true, then she can continue to contact Chen Fan, maybe they can be together. She knew that Chen Fan had a crush on him back then. Although neither of them said it explicitly, their attitude was actually somewhat ambiguous. If I take the initiative to contact him now, he should be very grateful to me. Chu Xin smiled. After all, he was considered an elite talent now and could become a grandmaster with even the lowest achievement in the future. How many people dream of marrying a strong female master? Presumably someone like Chen Fan would not refuse. Chu Xin took the initiative to step forward, wanting to get closer to Chen Fan, but at this moment there was another woman standing in front of Chen Fan. This woman has long blue hair, an astonishing aura, and the power of her energy and blood is even more powerful and terrifying. Chen Fan, I didn't expect that your ordinary talent can surpass geniuses like us. It's really amazing. Bai Chuyu praised, her temperament is very cold, but when she smiles, she is like a blooming snow lotus. Chen Fan, I didn't expect that you were unknown, but you were able to suppress Feng Chengtian and become the number one in the end. It's amazing. Lu Sheng also took the initiative to express his goodwill. When Feng Chengtian heard this, he didn't take it seriously. He had won too many first places since he was a child, so what if he lost at once? After all, he is a top extraordinary talent with unlimited achievements, and is destined to become a top big shot in the future. Temporary success or failure does not determine anything. Other geniuses also expressed their goodwill to Chen Fan. Chu Xin was unable to walk past him at the first time because the power of qi and blood of those geniuses was too strong. Although she is also an elite-level talent, she is still much worse than Wang Long. Her current combat power, even if she breaks out in martial arts, can barely reach around 30,000, which is far behind these top geniuses. But after those people left, Chu Xin quickly walked up. She had beautiful and smooth long hair, and a delicate face, making it easy for people to notice her. Chen Fan, congratulations on becoming the first place this time. A smile broke out on Chu Xin's face and she stretched out her white palm. Chen Fan also stretched out his hand, and the two shook hands gently, and then separated. At this moment, Chen Fan could naturally feel that Chu Xin's eyes were looking at him more intensely, which was completely different from the way he helped him in the first place. When he helped her at that time, his eyes actually looked condescending. Give him a feeling of giving, as if helping him in the first place was a gift. Thanks. Chen Fan nodded and thanked him, but he had no feelings for Chu Xin anymore. Although this beautiful school beauty is beautiful, she is very realistic. As long as she believes that your future achievements will be limited, she won't pay much attention to you. But now she seems to have a bright future, and she takes the initiative to get involved. Such a woman can betray her at any time, and she has no choice. She only cares about your bright future. Once you have no future in the future, I am afraid she will abandon you without hesitation. Chu Xin saw that Chen Fan expressed a sense of distance from her, but she did not give up because of this. Chen Fan, we are still good friends, right? Chu Xin asked with a smile. We are friends. Please call us on mobile phones from now on. Chen Fan answered with the same smile. Chu Xin's face suddenly changed. When Chen Fan said this, did he not want to contact her in real life in the future? Man is so realistic. Chu Xin turned around and left, with a sulky look on her face. After all, she is the school beauty. Even if Chen Fan is not there, she can still find someone else. It's just that after winning first place, people really become faster. However, she still felt a little regretful in her heart. She would have known that Chen Fan would have had more contact with him after awakening his talent, instead of deliberately keeping a distance from him. When Zhao Heng saw the school beauty leaving, he shook his head with a disdainful expression on his face. You also say that others are getting faster, but you are not the same. He originally wanted to bring Chen Fan and Chu Xin together, but now he feels that they are not the same person at all. Although this woman, Chu Xin, is a school beauty, she is just a favor to others. She never had a good look towards herself and Chen Fan, and looked like a cold goddess every day. Now that I see Chen Fan winning the first place, I take the initiative to get involved and want to return to the previous relationship. How can such a good thing happen? At the same time, among the crowd, a man wearing an exquisite purple robe stood out. This man looked to be in his 30s, but the power of qi and blood in his body was unparalleled and he suppressed everyone as soon as he appeared. Even the principals of major schools respect him immensely. I am the person sent by the academy to supervise the assessment this time, Zijin. He took the initiative to introduce his identity. In view of your outstanding performance, there will be 2 more places for those who can join the Genius Training Camp this time. I hope you can practice harder after entering the Genius Training Camp. Upon hearing this, the genius, who was a little disappointed at first, suddenly brightened up and showed an excited expression. It seems that I am also qualified to enter. Ying Baichi grinned. The genius ranked 7th was also very happy. Everyone was envious, knowing that the first 7 geniuses would be very different from them in the future. Especially Chen Fan, who seemed to be taller than the mountain peak at this moment. But at this moment, Chen Fan didn't care about the envious expressions of others, because the system's sweet voice sounded in his body. Ding! Congratulations to the host, starting a new mission. Enter the Genius Training Camp and graduate with first place honors. Reward: the sun's energy is doubled, and the vision of the sun body can be unlocked at the same time. As a divine body that can absorb the true fire of the sun and has been tempered for thousands of times, the awakened vision will have the power to burn the sky and destroy the earth, and at the same time, it can greatly enhance its combat power. A new mission has begun, which makes Chen Fan very excited. As long as he can complete this task, his strength will grow by leaps and bounds again. Rewards will begin to be distributed. The top 10 will receive varying degrees of rewards, starting from the 10th. Bahinia's voice spread throughout the audience, and almost everyone could hear it. The first one to take the stage is the 10th, and you will receive a monetary reward of 1 million. The rewards began to be distributed one by one, and soon they came to Chen Fan. Please come to the stage for the first place. Your performance is excellent, so this time, I will reward you with an additional C-level martial arts. This is also the special reward for the first place. There is also a cash reward of 5 million, which will be given to you directly, on the card. Zijin personally put a medal on Chen Fan's head. It was a golden medal with a word written on it, which represented honor. Chen Fan bowed and thanked. There are 10 martial arts schools in total. You can choose one yourself. Zijin directly took out 10 books for Chen Fan to choose from. Chen Fan looked at them carefully and finally selected a boxing method and a breathing method. You have really good taste. Zijin nodded when she saw the breathing method chosen by Chen Fan. The breathing method is called the sun breathing method, which is the most precious among all C-level martial arts and has the highest value. The more you practice to the later realms, the more you will know how precious the breathing method is. Because the breathing method can greatly enhance one's combat power in other martial arts, there is no conflict that can be superimposed at the same time. As for the other C-level martial arts book, it is a boxing book called Explosive Boxing. This explosive boxing technique is a more terrifying martial art than the 9 flame slashes, and it is said that the increase in combat power can reach twice as much. If his current combat power of 350,000 can be doubled, he can directly reach a combat power of 1 million. Of course, the most important thing for Chen Fan is the breathing method. He knows how precious the breathing method is. Among all martial arts, the value of the breathing method is 10 times more precious than ordinary martial arts. If the value of the bursting boxing technique is 30 million, then the martial arts of breathing technique may be worth 300 million. Although it sounds outrageous, this is the correct price in the market. The breathing method can additionally enhance combat power, and can also strengthen one's own energy and blood, so its preciousness is self-evident. However, when Chen Fan opened these books, he found that they were all blank. Chen Fan showed a puzzled expression and looked at Zijin. He knew that this was a big shot, most likely a top master or a great master. Logically speaking, such a big shot doesn't know how to joke. Why would you give him 2 wordless books? C-level martial arts is extremely precious. Naturally, I won't give it to you so easily. And if it is really given to you, I'm afraid there will be masters on the way who can't help but snatch it away. So, I will deliver these martial arts to you personally when you get home. Hearing these words, Chen Fan showed a clear expression, knowing that he had wrongly blamed this big shot. Other geniuses are envious. Of course they know that this Zijing is probably the real chief assessor. Although there is already a general examiner, he is just a representative sent by each major school. Zijin was sent by the academy. Such a big shot, no one would dare to disobey what he said, and he had absolute decision-making power. Moreover, it is a great honor to have such a big man personally deliver martial arts to your door. I'm so envious of first place. If I had known I had killed more ferocious beasts, I might have been able to compete for first place. Stop talking nonsense here. This time I was only ranked 9th, and I'm not even qualified to join the talent training camp. You are only ranked 8th, one place higher than me. You are also not qualified. Quote, quote. These geniuses began to talk to each other, and they were all envious. At this moment, Chen Fan's body resounded with a pleasant voice again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully completing the task and absorbing twice as much energy from the sun. Ding! Energy plus 20, plus 20. Chen Fan was particularly happy to see the reminder in his body. The sun here is so rare and the speed is so fast. If it is outside the city, the increased speed will be even faster. While the energy was increasing crazily, a genius who had been silent until now suddenly stood up and walked in the direction of Chen Fan. At this moment, the other top 7 geniuses all looked at this person. Because this person is none other than Feng Changtian, who ranks 2nd. This is the true pride of heaven. He has received countless honors since he was a child. He is the child of other people in the eyes of all parents. The same is true for Feng Changtian. Before he awakened his talent, he was always ranked number 1. After awakening his talent, he has never lost to anyone. Even the head of the Feng family believed that Feng Changtian would lead the Feng family to another level. Feng Changtian looked a little lazy, but when he became serious, he instantly became extremely dangerous, and several other geniuses felt a strong sense of threat. It was like encountering some kind of natural enemy, it was the body's instinctive reaction. Their expressions instantly became serious, and they stared at Feng Changtian nervously. Only Chen Fan looked calm. Even when faced with Feng Changtian's stormy momentum and the extremely powerful pressure, he didn't feel anything in his heart. Chen Fan could feel that Feng Changtian's energy and blood power was indeed powerful, but compared to himself, it was still a bit weak. Facing the pressure released by someone weaker than himself, Chen Fan naturally felt nothing. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.